I believe a question that many game development companies ask themselves is when the first game of your new series starts off hot, how do you improve on that first game and make sure the next game in the series is just as successful, if not more? I wonder if Bioware were asking themselves this very question after Mass Effect 1. But I can say they did a pretty good job with making the sequel. Mass Effect 2 received critical acclaim and was even more well received than Mass Effect 1. There are things that I do dislike about this game, but none of them took away from the overall experience. After I played Mass Effect 3, I decided I was going to play every game in the series. I felt like I needed a full picture of the Mass Effect universe, and I wanted to be able to see and influence different decisions that could only be made by playing every game. It's been 15 years since this game was released, so I wanted to take a look back at it and see what made it so good back then and now. I'm going to be playing the Legendary Edition of the game, but I may refer back to the original Mass Effect 2 at certain points. It's time to talk about Shepard's adventure through the Terminus systems. The game starts out with these two looking out at a sun. These people are Miranda Lawson and the Elusive Man, and they're talking about the threat of the Reapers, but more importantly, Shepard and how important they are in the fight against them. We're going to get more into these two in a bit, but this serves as a quick introduction. It's only been a few months since the Battle of the Citadel, and Shepard and the crew of the Normandy are patrolling a section of space looking for the remnants of the Geth army from the first game, when they're attacked by an unknown ship. The Normandy is getting absolutely eviscerated. We're losing crew members. We lost XO Presley in the attack, and it's time to evacuate. The crew member leading the evacuation will either be the squad member you romanced in Mass Effect 1, or Liara if you romanced nobody. However, we need to get our pilot Joker as he's desperately trying to save the Normandy. When you get into the CIC, you're partly in the vacuum of space, and it's kinda cool to look up at the planet above. This planet is known as Alkera, and we're going to be going there later. But Shepard has to remind Joker of the truth of the situation. The Normandy is cooked, no matter what we do, and he relents, but that's when the unknown ship launches another attack at the Normandy. Shepard helps Joker into the escape pod, but unfortunately, Shepard is unable to get in due to all the turbulence and is blown back by the explosion, causing a leak in their spacesuit and sending them out into space. The leak leads to Shepard suffering from vacuum exposure, and they suffocate as their body gets pulled down and burned up in Alkera's atmosphere. Wow, now that's an opening. I couldn't believe it. I hadn't been that shocked by a character's death since we lost Hope McTavish in Modern Warfare 3. Our character literally dies in front of us in a very horrific way. This next part wasn't a part of the base game for the original version of Mass Effect 2. This was a part of the Genesis DLC for the game. However, it's already included in the Legendary Edition. We're going to talk about the rest of the DLCs later, but I thought it would be better to talk about this one here. This DLC adds a digital interactive comic that allows the player to impact the story of Mass Effect 2 if they hadn't played Mass Effect 1 or are choosing to start from Mass Effect 2. If you hadn't played 1 and are starting from 2, you'll be able to decide the major plot points that happen in the game. But if you're using an imported character from 1, you'll only get to choose the final plot point, which is who gets to be the counselor for Earth. I always choose Anderson because screw Udina, but I will say this feature is worth watching if it's your first playthrough. But after that, you're probably going to skip the thing, and I believe if you do skip it, your choice for counselor in the first game still stands, but I digress. But after this is when you get to the character creator screen. If you're using a new profile, it's similar to Mass Effect 1 in that you can choose your name, whether you want a quick start character with the default choices picked out for you, or a custom character. With a custom character, you can customize Shepard's appearance, and you can choose their combat class, background, and site profile. If you're using an exported Shepard, you can choose their class and a bonus ability if you've already beaten the game before. However, if you're doing a new game plus with your imported character, you can only change their bonus ability. Now that all of that is squared away, you get back to the game, and we see Shepard is waking up, but I guess he wasn't done baking yet, so Miranda and her assistant Wilson have to put him back to sleep before he leaves this universe again. Shepard wakes up later, and it sounds like all hell is breaking loose. The mechs have gone haywire at this research station, so now you have to make your way through it with Miranda guiding you. This is the tutorial mission where you'll learn all about the basics of the game, and you'll notice immediately that Mass Effect 2's gameplay feels a lot different than Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 2 is more of a cover shooter, where most of your strategy will be thought out from behind cover, unless you want to get Swiss cheese by some SMGs. And I'll be honest, out of all of the games in the series, I like this game's combat the least. Yeah, Mass Effect 1's combat system is a bit clunky and archaic, but it did have a charm to it, especially with the biotics, and I feel like I had more freedom in how I want to attack enemies. But here, it feels like I'm in cover 85% of the time. However, that doesn't mean that the system is bad. The cover system is now clicking to cover instead of hugging the wall and hoping for the best, and I do like that change. However, it can sometimes feel unresponsive depending on where you're trying to initiate cover from, leading you to take some damage. At first, it felt weird going back to stiffer controls, as I had played Mass Effect 3 before this game. Even today, I have to remind myself that I'm playing Mass Effect 2, not 3. Take cover and lock in. The skill system is laid out a bit different as well. The skills menu has been condensed, so everything looks a bit cleaner. As you can see with my infiltrator build here, the special ammo has been added to the skill tree instead of being an inventory add-on, and certain abilities are now their own separate skills instead of unlocking them in their upgrades through skill points. If you max out a skill, you can get a specialized version of said skill. As far as your weapons, the type of weapons that you have is now class specific. So a soldier would have access to more weapons than a biotic or an engineer to compensate for not having those abilities. It does make sense instead of giving you untradeable weapons like in Mass Effect 1. However, those weapons still had utility, even though you couldn't upgrade them, and you will miss that utility at times. Mass Effect 2 also introduced heavy weapons, which can help you with crowd control or dealing with some of the tougher enemies that you'll face throughout the game. The Journal and Codex operate about the same as Mass Effect 1's. You have your missions, assignments or side missions, and the Codex hasn't changed much in terms of overall looks. However, the content is a bit different, as where Mass Effect 1's Codex was designed to be more of an info guide into the world of Mass Effect. Mass Effect 2's dives deeper into organizations, species, technologies, and worlds within the game. This level also gets you used to one of the new hacking minigames. The first one is the bypass system, where you have to match the conduit to open safes or containers. The second one is hacking terminals. You'll see these later in the game, but how this works is that you'll have to match the data box at the top of the screen with the data boxes that's scrolling below. The player has 3 chances to select the correct boxes. Selecting the wrong box counts against you, and if you're unable to match all 3 target code fragments within the allotted time or run out of attempts, you fail the game. From my experience, these are less forgiving than the bypass systems. I don't really care for them. I'll only go after them if I really need money. The biggest change to hacking is that compared to Mass Effect 1's hacking minigames, is that if you fail a hacking attempt, there's no Omni Jail to fall back on now, so you can get locked out of a terminal a lot easier, so you'll need to be more careful. The good thing is that they're no longer tied to an ability, so you can access any terminal, and it's completely up to you whether you complete them or not. As you progress through the station, you can hear some logs from Miranda and Wilson about the Lazarus Project, and when you hear Wilson's logs about Miranda, it seems like there's some resentment for Miranda simmering beneath the surface.
I can't figure Miranda out. As project director, she should be ecstatic at all the progress we've made. But she's still the same old ice queen. Maybe she's worried Shepard might become the new favorite. Or maybe she is just a pure cold-hearted bitch.
After a while, you'll lose contact with Miranda, but then you'll meet Jacob Taylor fighting off some mechs. His role here is to teach you how to use the ability wheel. This brother is Miranda's top lieutenant and confidant. The two will receive a call from Wilson, who is very surprised to hear that Shepard is alive, which is sus as hell. He tells us to go through the service tunnels to reach the network control room, but of course it's full of mechs, which Jacob calls him out on. But Wilson will retort that the whole building is full of mechs, which I'll give him that, but still. Eventually, we'll find Wilson, who has gotten overwhelmed by the mechs, and this leads to a tutorial on how to patch up your teammates with Metagel using the Unity ability. Wilson will give the two a report on the situation, which Jacob states his suspicion as to why he has access to security mechs in the first place, since his area of duty is in the bio wing, which again is a bit suspicious, but the more important thing here at the moment is finding Miranda and getting the hell out of here. So Wilson joins your party for a while. You'll get a little tutorial on how to use the environment to your advantage by using overload on these crates. Jacob then decides to rip the band-aid off and reveal to Shepard who they truly work for. We are in the hospitality of Cerberus, the same group those crazy-ass scientists belong to from Mass Effect 1. They've gotten a hell of a glow up since then, but Jacob explains that the head of the group, the elusive man, will explain why they brought us back. Because of the circumstances, Shepard has no choice but to go along with them. The three will fight through the rest of the mechs and reach the hangar bay, but look who's waiting. It's Miranda, and she pops Wilson with the quickness. Why? Well, Wilson was the one who caused all this chaos, of course. It was mainly because he felt underappreciated and disrespected by Miranda, so he took his anger out on everybody. He was looking for an opportunity to take everyone out, but ultimately couldn't, so he hung with us so that he could get up out of here, so he deserved that. On the shuttle to another Cerberus facility to meet the elusive man, Miranda and Jacob will ask Shepard some questions. These are based on events that happened in the first game, so if you played that game or listened to the interactive comic, you will ace them. Once you get to the station, you'll be directed to this back room and you'll finally get to meet the head of the madness, the elusive man, and we get our answers. The reason that Shepard was brought back is that human colonies have been disappearing across the Traverse, and the elusive man believes that the Reapers are involved, so he needs the person who led the charge against them all those years ago to assist them in their fight. Shepard is understandably cautious, but if the Reapers are involved, then they're willing to play ball. The elusive man then asked Shepard to go to a colony known as Freedom's Progress with Miranda and Jacob. The colony was the last one to be abducted, so we're being asked to investigate and confirm the Reaper threat. Before leaving the station, you can talk to Miranda or Jacob, or you can check out the armor locker. This is how you'll now change your armor instead of having it readily available like Mass Effect 1 handled it. But the difference is that you can now also choose casual clothes for Shepard, which there isn't much, but it's nicer than wearing the Alliance regs around. But that's enough for the cosmetics for now. Let's go to Freedom's Progress. When you get to the settlement, you'll notice two things. One, that absolutely none of the settlers are around, and two, the mechs are attacking on site. Something's definitely off here. You're introduced to Fenris mechs, which are basically mechanical dogs that can EMP you. A side note is that some people keep them as pets, or use them as attack dogs like here, but they're easy to take down. As you fight through the colony, you'll enter this room, where you'll meet a familiar face. It's Tali, and more Quarians. It's nice to see more of them after Tali was the only one in Mass Effect 1, but the reason the Quarians are here is that they are looking for one of their own named Vitor. He decided to come here for his pilgrimage. Both sides reluctantly decide to work together, as we also need to get to him because he's the only one who could tell us what went down here. I say reluctantly because there is some beef between the Quarians and Cerberus. Basically, Cerberus was after a human biotic that was hiding on a Quarian ship, things got messy, and now we're here. Vitor is hiding near the back of the docks, and has activated all of the mechs in the colony to protect him, so you're going to be getting introduced to every mech-related enemy in the game. That includes the assault and rocket drones, and the big boys, Emir mechs. You would have saw these on the Cerberus station. That mech stomped on this poor Quarian and shredded her to pieces. These things can be challenging to take down, especially if they're in groups. But this one isn't too bad because you have your grenade launcher, Miranda's very useful, and there's plenty of cover. It should be noted that the heavy weapons run off a different ammo source. They run off of power cells that can be found within the levels. And this part is definitely coming a bit late, but Mass Effect 2 overhauls the ammo system. Weapons now run on thermal clips that are collected from enemies and around the level instead of an overheat system like in Mass Effect 1. Each system comes with its pros and cons, but they aren't inherently worse than one another. It's more of a preference thing. After taking care of the mech, you can access the building Vitor is in, and our man is gone, so you'll have to get his attention. After that, he snaps back too and you can talk to him. And here is where you can learn about our main enemies for this game, the Collectors. They are a reclusive species that live beyond the Omega-4 relay. Only a few people have ever seen one alive. It appears that they're working for the Reapers. Why? Oh, you're going to find out. But according to Vitor, they use these bugs called Seeker Swarms to immobilize people to make them easier to capture. The group's theory is that the Collectors were using some type of scanner that was geared towards picking up human signatures. And if that's the case, Vitor dodged a major bullet. He managed to get some data on the Collectors with his Omni tool, which we want, but Tali wants to take him back to the flotilla for treatment. So you have to choose whether to let him go with Tali or to take him back to Cerberus. I let him go with our homegirl because this man has been traumatized enough, he doesn't need an interrogation. You can ask Tali to join you, but she says that she has her own mission that she can't break from, priorities and all that. After the mission, Shepard and the elusive man will talk about things, And the mission did confirm the elusive man's suspicions that the collectors were behind the abductions, and that they are working with the Reapers. So now our end goal is going to be getting through the Omega-4 relay, a place where no one but the collectors has ever come back from alive. However, we are nowhere near ready to take on that right now, so while the elusive man is monitoring the collectors' activity, we'll have to build up our team and resources. The elusive man has compiled a list of people for us to recruit. However, Shepard can ask about his old team, but as we saw with Tally, they're out doing their own things or off the grid. However, this conversation does end with us getting our pilot back. He reveals that after the Battle of the Citadel, the Council basically swept everything about Sovereign and the Reapers under the rug, which is not surprising in the slightest. The Normandy crew was disbanded and Joker was reassigned, but after hearing that Shepard was being revived, it led to him joining Cerberus, with his main role being to fly the new Normandy. Of course it was going to be named the Normandy. It was based off the first one after all. So now that we have our ship, it's time to discuss our first move, which is acquiring Dr. Morden Solus, as we need a scientist to help deal with the Seeker Swarm problem. We get acquainted with Edie, our ship's AI, and of course explore the new ship. The SR2 is laid out a lot differently than the SR1. All of the floors are accessible via the elevator, and you can't go to the shuttle bay at all. You'll also notice that a lot of the rooms are locked at the moment. These rooms will become more available as you gather more squad mates. There is this one little gag, where if you enter the wrong sex's bathroom, Edie will tell you that the men's/women's bathroom is on the other side of the ship. You also have some new shipmates for this game. There's Yeoman Kelly Chambers, and she basically acts like an administrative assistant/psychologist. She keeps track of the crew's well-being. There's Mess Sergeant Rupert Gardner. He's the cook/handyman for the ship. If you go down to engineering, there's Ken Donnelly and Gabby Daniels. They have a dynamic duo thing going on with them. One thing that you'll notice is that a good amount of Cerberus operatives used to be Alliance, but left for one reason or another. Alongside Joker for the returning characters, Dr. Chakwas has joined us as well. Like Joker, she was reassigned after the Battle of the Citadel and was stationed on Mars. But she doesn't like working planetside, so she joined Cerberus to get the chance to work on a ship again, and also tend to Joker, with his condition and everything. But her ties to Shepard would have certainly landed her on the Normandy at some point. Edie is also accessible from the cockpit of the ship, but she has some mini hubs in different rooms, if you want to know more about a certain area. You can try to talk to her to learn more about Cerberus, however most of the information on Cerberus operations have been blocked. We'll revisit this at the end of the game. What I do like about the NPC characters is that you can do little side quests for them if they need something, with you getting a special conversation if you get what they need. How conversations work in Mass Effect 2 is that you can still ask the crew questions to learn more about them and potentially drive forward romantic relationships. Some members can talk about how the mission is going, or if upgrades are needed for the crew or the ship. The biggest difference is in the major conversations. If you ask a crewmate if you can talk after already having that major conversation with them, they'll say something along the lines of they're too busy or that they don't want to talk right now. This is a way to let you know that there's nothing important going on with them at the moment, or that you've already talked to them, and they won't really have anything else to say until the next major mission. Joker is the one exception. He mostly gives opinions on the mission, but he doesn't rebuff you like the others will if you talk to him. Joker doesn't like Edie at first, so the banter moments between the two end up being some of the funniest moments in the game.
Once again.
I enjoy the sight of humans on their knees. That is a joke.
Right.
The biggest addition to the Normandy is the terminal. This will allow you to change your squad mate's attire, look at your upgrades, and check your emails. What I really liked about this is that you could receive emails from people that you met in Mass Effect 1, and I just like that kind of thing. It gives a bit of a nod to past characters that probably aren't going to return in this game and beyond. You can even get an email from Mama Shepard if you chose the Spacer background. But that's it for the ship for now. Let's go to the CIC and let's get to recruiting. Mass Effect 2 has double the amount of squad mates compared to Mass Effect 1. There are 10 base squad mates that you can recruit, 12 if you include the DLC characters like Zaid and Kasumi. This will have you go into different worlds to meet these people while also dealing with the situations that they might have going on. Morden is the first recruit mentioned, as he is the most important person to recruit for the first part of the game. This will take you to the first hub world, Omega, and our first interactions here are strange. This Solarian will try to introduce himself, but he gets dismissed by this Batarian who will tell you to meet with someone named Arya at the nightclub Afterlife. Not the best start, but if you go down the hallway, you can meet another squad mate, Zaid Masani. Like I said, Zaid is one of the DLC characters of this game. Zaid is a veteran bounty hunter, and he was hired to go after this poor sap here. The thing about the DLC characters is that you can get them right away. Any mission concerning them happens after the fact. In exchange for his services, Zaid needs us to help him go after the leader of the Blue Suns mercenary gang, Vito Santiago. I do like when this Batarian tries to run and Zaid just shoots him in the leg. Where were you going, my friend? How the DLC characters work is that their rooms have some items that you can click on, and they'll tell you the backstories behind them. You can click on them and they'll have some canned dialogue that plays about their own past experiences and recent Normandy events. When you reach the end of their dialogue, they'll tell you to come back later, which kinda sucks, but with them being DLC, it is what it is. A lot of Zaid's story centers around his days as a mercenary. He's seen it all and been through it all. After acquiring Zaid, you'll go out into the main hub area, and yeah, we're definitely in the hood. But straight ahead is Afterlife, and our next stop, Arya Tulok. She's the pirate queen or ruler of Omega. She's a very cautious person, which is the case with most gang leaders. But after you clear her background checks, she's pretty civil with you. She'll provide you with information on your Dossier targets. We know the first one is Morton Solus. Morton has started up a clinic in the quarantined area of the station. A plague has broken out there, affecting most of the races, but humans are immune to it for some reason. The plague is only part of the problem here. A gang war is going on between two of the big merc groups on the station, the Blue Suns and the Blood Pack. You can learn more about the current situation by talking to the residents of the district. The general consensus is that the plague has taken out every other race except humans, the Vorcha, and to a lower extent, the Krogan. No one believes that the Vorcha could create a plague like this, as Vorcha aren't particularly bright. They're seen as an annoyance to most races for their violent and scavenging ways. The Krogan and the Vorcha in this area are part of the Blood Pack, and they've been putting the squeeze on the Blue Suns, as the Suns are weak at the moment due to most of them dying off from the plague. But you're going to have to fight through both factions to get to Morton, and you'll learn how each group fights. The Blue Suns are mainly your soldier and engineer types. The higher ranked mercs tend to have shields and have stronger weapons. The Blood Pack are more aggressive. They prefer close quarters combat. The Blood Pack will use Varen to soften up an opponent's defense, which makes taking them out extremely important. The Krogan are a problem, especially when the biotic battle masters come into play. They also like to use the Vorcha as pyros, but you can deal with these by destroying the tanks on their backs. A rule of thumb is keep the Blood Pack as far away from you as possible. After dealing with the mercs, you'll reach Morton's clinic and meet the man himself. Solarians are kind of considered soft, but Morton is nothing to play with, and you'll catch on to that as people talk about him. Morton is retired STG. You'll remember them if you played Mass Effect 1. You would have teamed up with an STG unit led by Captain Kirahi. They're basically Solarian Special Forces. Morton thinks fast, he talks fast. He's fast even by Solarian standards. But through him, it confirms some of the suspicions about this plague. The plague is man-made, and judging by how deadly it is to the other races and how humans aren't getting infected, it suggests that humans are being used as a control group. And who would want to study something like that and also have the technology to carry it out? The Collectors. Morton has the cure already prepared, but the Vorcha are guarding the environmental controls. He needs us to get rid of them and use the environmental controls to spread the cure. However, the Vorcha has shut down the EV controls to finish everyone off, so we need to get there fast. Morton will also ask you to look for his assistant who has been missing for a while. You even get a new pistol from him. Ain't that nice? So from here, it's about fighting through the Blood Pack's forces until you reach the EV control room. You'll find Morton's assistant Daniel in one of the rooms with some Batarians. They thought he was trying to spread the virus, but in reality he had the cure. You can reason with these guys to let him go, they're just scared. We're trying to fix human and Batarian relations one group at a time, and we're going to need it because we're going to go 100 steps back later. We get to the EV control center, and would you look at that? The people here were half right. The Vorcha didn't create the virus, but no one ever considered that the Vorcha would have the capacity to deploy it if it was given to them. The Collectors paid the Vorcha to release the virus and make sure it's sustained. Well, we can't have that, so now we have to kill them. There are two fans on each side of the control center. We'll have to fight through each fan and release the cure. I've always wondered, it's odd that the Vorcha are leading this. You'll find in the next mission that the Vorcha are basically cannon fodder, so I doubt that the Krogan would let them do this. It had to be because the Collector's deal was with them, and with the plague going on, the Krogan aren't in a true position to go against it. But once you hit both fans, you're transported back to the clinic. Morden destroys his assistant's worldview, but hands the clinic over to him. If you let Morden know about that Batarian near the beginning of the mission, and had told that human couple to come to the clinic, they'll show up here. You can take one more look around, but that is the mission. After you finish a mission, you may receive an email from someone you met who knows what you did or is tied to one of your squad mates. Something funny about Joker is that you can ask him about the squad mates he went out with, and he'll give his opinion on them. I thought that was a small but cool thing. After you acquire a new character that's not a DLC one, there will be a debriefing, and a new squad mate will take over a room on the ship. In Morden's case, unlocking him opens the tech lab. You'll now have access to the research terminal, where you can upgrade you and your squad's weapons and armor. Some squad mates will have upgrades specific to them, and even the ship has its own upgrades. You're going to want to upgrade those, trust me. There's even an option to heal Shepard's facial scars. They're still fresh off the operating table at this point, so the scars are noticeable. Their scars can heal or deepen depending on your morality choices. If you make more Paragon or good choices, their faces will start to clear up. But if you make more Renegade or bad choices, their faces can end up looking like a Sith Lord's. This would be a good time to talk about the mineral system. Instead of currency, your upgrades will cost minerals. If you've beaten Mass Effect 2 once and are starting a new game, or doing a new game plus, you can get 50,000 of each mineral right off the bat. But if not, you're going to have to start doing it the old-fashioned way, finding mineral boxes within the levels, or mineral scanning. There are 4 minerals that you'll need: Palladium, Platinum, Iridium, and Element 0. Each mineral allows you to upgrade different things, so it's good practice to keep a decent amount of each. How the scanning works is that you can use a radar to find minerals. The radar will spike and vibrate depending on how much of a mineral you find. You have 30 probes to use starting off, but this can be upgraded to 60, and you can upgrade the scanner to make this process faster, but it can get tedious after a while. You'll get more probes from the fuel depot in each system. Speaking of fuel, in this game, the Normandy now has a fuel mileage system. You'll have 1,000 fuel points starting out, and you can upgrade this to 1,500 later. But going from cluster to cluster costs fuel points. So you have to gauge how many points it will cost to go to a different cluster and then get back to the main cluster. Whenever you're running low on fuel points, like probes, you will go back to the fuel station in the main cluster of that system and refuel. I do find this to be inconvenient at times, especially when you're mineral scanning or just going between clusters. But the fact that you can scan for fuel, and there's a fuel depot in every main cluster, it makes it somewhat tolerable. But now that we have our scientists, our next target is to recruit Archangel. This mission starts by talking to this merc here, who will let you in to talk to the merc recruiter. So the skinny is that Archangel has been putting belt to ass on the biggest merc groups on the station. It's gotten so bad that all of the groups have decided to work together to take him out. We're directed to go to the transport terminal to get to Archangel's base. But as we're leaving the room, this kid comes in saying that he's ready to get active. You can either let him go or dissuade him from joining. I take his gun because hell no, you ain't going out there. We get to Archangel's base and get a read of the situation, and it's not looking good for our friend Archangel. As you go through the planning ground, you can talk to the different merc groups. I know we've seen 2 of these groups at this point, but the final piece of the puzzle is here. Eclipse and their commander, Jareth. By talking to the different leaders, you can learn more about the inner workings of the gangs and why they're after Archangel. Eclipse prefers to keep a low profile when it comes to their operations. They deal more with transporting illegal items and criminals. It makes sense since most of their ranks are Asari, Solarians, and humans. They tend to be either engineers or biotics. Definitely not the types to be on the front line. Going after Archangel is personal for Jareth, as Archangel killed his brother, so while I'm not on his side, I do get it. Eclipse also has this data pad that you can give to Arya later. Apparently the 3 groups want to move on her after they finish their business here. I don't know why they would want to do that. But anyway, there's also an opportunity to sabotage this heavy mech to attack the mercs when it's activated later. Anything for an edge, right? The next person you run into is Garm, leader of the Blood Pack. The Blood Pack are the muscle on the station. They are known for accepting the hardest of jobs. The Blood Pack are mainly Krogan, But they do have Vorcha, but they're hardly members to them. They're mainly adequate cannon fodder. The ones we met in the Gozu district were built a little different. And you know they have the Varen to soften up defenses. Garm is also the only person who has fought Archangel one-on-one, so he knows exactly what they're dealing with. The last group is the Blue Suns. We meet their leader, Tarek, who's a nervous wreck. But if you bring Zaid, he's a bit more pleasant. You can get different dialogue if you bring a particular person to certain missions. But we end up talking to his second-in-command, Genta, anyway. The Suns deal in protection rackets and transporting weapons and machinery. All of that good stuff. They can also act as mediaries between factions. They have the widest net out of all the groups to me. But that's it for the Mercs. I would have loved to see these guys in Mass Effect 1, but our main task is talking to Sergeant Kafka to get informed on the mission. Basically, the Mercs have cornered Archangel to his base of operations. He had a whole team, but they all got whacked, so now it's just him. However, Archangel has the home field advantage, as the only way to get into his base is to cross an exposed bridge, which has kept all the Mercs at bay, but time is running out for them. They actually have a decent plan. Basically, the freelancers are to distract Archangel, so that way the infiltration team could get close to him. If that doesn't work, they'll use some explosives to get in from the basement. As the alarms rang for the plan to commence, you do have the option of stopping Kafka from repairing the gunship all the way, or leaving him be. It's time. You can either fire at the freelancers right away, but I like to wait and detonate the bomb that they have with them. After finishing them off, you get to meet the famed Archangel, and it's Garrus, but he's seen better days. But we need to get him out of here, cause this is a messed up ass situation. We got Garrus, but now we got 3 Merc groups to clear. It's a good thing there's a Vindicator rifle nearby. We're going to need something accurate. The Mercs are going to come in 3 separate stages, with Eclipse going first. They're going to send some mechs out to soften you up, and after those get destroyed, the Mercs will start coming. It's best to try to take out the Mercs while they're on the bridge, because otherwise, they'll get into the base and eventually reach the top floor. Unfortunately, I was doing terrible this time around. As an infiltrator, I couldn't quite clear them out as fast as usual. I was still getting used to playing as one here. After a while, Jareth will send in the heavy mech, but if you sabotaged it earlier, it will attack the Mercs instead, giving you another advantage. Eventually, Jareth will make his way down the bridge, and after you kill him and the remaining Mercs, that ends phase 1. After each phase, Garrus will give you some insight about his run-ins with each leader and why they were after him. Soon after, an explosion goes off in the basement. That plan B, if the infiltration team failed, is in motion. We need to split up. You'll leave one of your squad mates with Garrus topside while you and the other squad mate go into the basement. The Blood Pack have breached the basement from different areas, and it's up to you to keep them back and close the shutters to each area. The first area is the easiest, but the other 2 could be a challenge due to the might of the Blood Pack. In the garage, you'll have to push the shutter to close the gate, but the Blood Pack are entrenched here, so you can't just force it. You need to have patience and work up to the shutters. But as you noticed, the shutters have a timer, and there's Varen running towards you. So you will have to keep them and everyone else at bay so they don't cross the plane and disrupt the timer. Once you do that, it's time to go to the final area. This area is very condensed and has some BS to it. For anyone who's never played this game, stop right here. There is a Blood Pack Pyro right around the corner ready to burn you to ashes. Bioware was wrong for putting him here, because if you don't know that they're right there, you're going to get fried. But closing this gate is a lot easier. I just put some rocket launcher ammo on them to get it out of the way. After that, you're back topside, and Garm will be making his move. 9 times out of 10, he'll get to Garrus before you can stop him, so you'll just have to fight off his goons and help Garrus when you can. This fight gets you acquainted with Krogan Battle Masters. You'll be fighting a few later on. Battle Masters are deadly at close range and are also biotics, who will use warp at long range, so you do have to be careful when fighting them. After you finish Garm, Tarek and the Blue Suns will make their move. Tarek will drop in Genta and his other troops on both floors, so you have to take them out while avoiding being hit by his gunship. After you take out the Mercs, Tarek will get the jump on Garrus and absolutely shred him. Then he nails him with a rocket. So now, it's time for our response. It's time to focus on the gunship. Tarek will still drop in troops and circle around the building. Just make sure that you're changing positions to avoid getting shredded yourself. After you kill Tarek, you'll go check on Garrus, and he's still alive, but hanging on by a thread. Back on the Normandy, Jacob will give you an update on Garrus' condition, but the man is up and walking already, which is good. Garrus will rightfully bring up Cerberus' history. We'll never forget what they had going on, but he's on board anyway. He'll be in the main battery room if you want to talk to him. Next, let's take a trip to planet Corliss to recruit our next member, Okeer the Warlord. As soon as the mission starts, you'll hear a woman named Jador over the loudspeaker. She is the leader of the Corliss Blue Suns, your enemies for this level. The deal here is that Jador has hired Okeer to breed her an army of Krogan. However, the Krogan that come out of Okeer's lab are mindless killing machines, and now they're running all over the station, so that means we'll be running into them later. But for now, it's just killing mercs and listening to Jador be annoying over the loudspeaker.
The Krogans are your example and your warning. As ferocious as they are, failures are expendable.
Funny thing about this is that even her own people get tired of it. About halfway through the mission, you'll see a taint-bred Krogan blasting at some mercs, and we'll give him a hand. You can talk to him and start to understand more about what's going on with these Krogan. Basically, Okeer is trying to create the perfect Krogan. However, most of these Krogan are not meeting his standards, so he's been releasing them outside the lab where they've been wreaking havoc. The Krogan will clear the way for us, and more level BS is about to come up. Some merc will shout that the Krogan are all free and come flying around the corner while you're completely exposed. Just why? But in their defense, they did have a good reason to run because these Krogan were coming for them. The tank Krogan will progress closer and closer to you, but the good thing is that they're spread out, so this wasn't too overwhelming. Plus, having a sniper and Miranda helped out a lot. After fighting through them and more mercs, you'll reach Okeer's office where you'll find Rana Thanoptis, if you let her live in Mass Effect 1. This woman loves her some shady operations, but she's here as Okeer's assistant. She'll explain that Jador enlisted Okeer to make her a private army of Krogan, but Okeer's not really worried about that. He has his own reasons for running the project, creating the perfect Krogan and all that. She created a program to train the tank Krogan, and the ones that failed got casted out, which are the ones that we saw earlier. She knows to get the hell out when we arrive, galaxy level crash out here, but you go into the next room and we meet Warlord Okeer. He's a bit skeptical of us being here to help him. Shepard does have a spotty reputation with the Krogan at this point. Vermeer and stopping the Krogan clones and all that. But we find out that he doesn't mind what we did too much because Okeer's goal isn't to cure the genophage, but to create this perfect Krogan. He believes the genophage made the Krogan weaker in terms of overall might. So by perfecting his template for the perfect Krogan, he's going with a more Darwinistic approach of the strongest Krogan will survive over the rest. Okeer's ready to get out of this place, so he wants to strike a deal with us. However, Jador is not happy about him releasing those Krogan, so she tries to gas the place to get rid of the remaining Krogan, which would also include his perfect one. Okeer isn't having any of that, so he asks us to deal with Jador while he handles things here. The Jador fight is a bit challenging because you have Jador, the Krogan, and a heavy mech to deal with. The Krogan and the mech will be right on top of you if you don't remember to pay attention to both of them. For the Krogan, it can work in your favor, as they'll have no cover if they end up on your side. But to be real, how I handled this is I just upped the rocket launcher on the mech until its armor and shields were gone, and then destroyed it, while letting my squad mates focus on the Krogan in the meantime. Jador herself is not that hard to deal with. It's easy to flank her and take her out. You rush back upstairs to Okeer because his vital signs are fading, but it's too late. Okeer's dead, but he left us one hell of a present. Back on the Normandy, they have the Krogan stashed in the cargo hold, and the Brain Trust here are deciding on what to do with them. But Shepard has the last word, and of course we're about to let him out. He's a bit hostile at first, but he and Shepard reach an understanding. All he wants is a name and to show him where to fight at. He chooses the name Grunt for himself, and that's cool, I guess. He'll be down here if you want to talk to him. Next on our list is to recruit the convict, so we're off to prison ship Purgatory. This ship is run by the Blue Suns, and this group's leader, Warden Kirill. A bit of a red flag immediately. There's a little saying among Turians that a Turian without face paint is untrustworthy. Take a good look at the Warden here. But anyway, he'll explain that this prison is designed to hold the most dangerous criminals in the galaxy. These guys are so bad that their own planets don't want to house them and will pay for them to be here. That's insane. But it's kind of genius when you think about it. They're in space. There's nowhere to run if they escape. But this prison also has another purpose. is also a prisoner market house. You can buy prisoners from here to do whatever you want to them. The Blue Suns can be a shady group of mercs after all. If you don't pay to keep the prisoner in purgatory, they may be returned to the planet they came from, and they'll be set down anywhere, anytime. That prisoner is going to be mad as hell. You can do the math there. The warden gives us a bit of a description of Jack as well. She's basically the biggest crash out the galaxy's ever seen, and we want her. I guess we're crazy too. But the warden will point us towards out processing so that we can acquire her. And along the way, we'll see a guard wailing on an inmate. I stopped that because he's going in on him. You'll learn from the inmate next door that is Bimmy. He killed someone yesterday. That meant a lot to the warden, so Bimmy was getting punished. You want an example of how dangerous these guys are? This guy has killed about 20 people and blew up a habitat. And that's small time compared to most people here. Jack is too crazy even for him. That says a hell of a lot. And then there's this guy.
I hear the screaming in my head. It's nice, yeah.
Yeah, you belong here, buddy. After this, we'll get to out processing, and of course it's a trap. Kirill wants to make bank on our name, and there's no talking your way out of this. He's committed, so we're committed to raising hell. But the true hell starts once we release Jack. I went out and got Grunt first because of this mission. I love his lines during all of this. But this is why we want her. Jack may be the most powerful biotic ever. Honestly, this mission is one of the shorter ones. The most important thing to keep in mind is to not push up early during encounters. I suffered my first death because I got impatient. One thing I never knew, and I've beaten this game about 3-4 times at this point, is that if you destroy a heavy mech's head, it'll go off like a nuke. This is good for inflicting collateral damage, if you can hit it. Once you get through the suns and the mechs, it's time to fight Kirill. He's using the same technology that they use to separate inmates, and has created one huge bubble shield. To bring down the shield, you have to destroy the shield generators while fending off the other mercs. Be mindful of Kirill's weapon. He has my favorite assault rifle, the Revenant, and that thing shreds. Once you kill him, you'll see Jack hauling ass above you. She'll take out some guards and freak out when she sees our ship, hinting at a bad history with Cerberus.
You're in a bad situation and I'm gonna get you out of here.
Shit, you sound like a pussy.
That's how you talk to the person who's here to save you? Can't blame her though. Cerberus has been after her for years. But in exchange for her cooperation, she wants access into Cerberus's databases to see what they have on her. Miranda and Jacob would obviously object to this, but you can either give her access or bluff that you will. Either way, she's placated. You get back to the ship and you can tell the relationship between these two is going to be very interesting. She'll ask for access to the database. You can give her access now or have her wait. Either way, she'll have her access. She'll be downstairs at engineering if you want to talk to her. If you talk to Kelly after recruiting her, she'll warn you that Jack has a quirk about her that may hurt you later if you don't heed it. If you can't tell, Jack is mentally damaged. She's been taken advantage of all her life. If you take advantage of her like everyone else, she'll stop talking to you, which can be bad, but you'll have a chance to fix that later. I didn't mention this earlier, but Kelly can give her opinions of a squad mate after you acquire them. Also, you'll receive an email from a prisoner who escaped purgatory where they'll say that we shot at him, and now he has to kill us, and that he snuck into this family's house and is about to go BTK on them. Yeah, I'm glad we never have a run-in with this guy. It could have been from this prisoner here, who knows? After you've completed a couple missions, you'll be told that you need to speak to the elusive man. If you try to use the galaxy map, Joker will relay the same thing. This game has certain missions that are unavoidable. These are the major missions of the game that move the overall plot forward, and are given by the elusive man, so we have no choice but to go see what he wants. You'll get on the communicator with All Elusive, and he'll tell you that he may have found a read on the collectors as communications for Planet Horizon have stopped coming in. And he'll also tell you that Ashley or Caden are on the planet as a part of a galactic outreach program. I saved Ashley, so that's who I'm going to be referring to. The Alliance is trying to extend an olive branch with determinate system colonies as relations are strained at the moment. But we got motion, and Morden has found a defense against the secret swarms, so now it's off to Horizon. Planet side, the colonists and Ashley are aware that the comms are down, but they don't even have time to fix them as the collectors have pulled up and have released the secret swarms, and everyone takes off running. We get a clear display of how the collectors operate and how the keeper swarms actually work. Ashley tries to protect the colonists, but she gets stung by one of the seekers and is immobilized to what looks like a stasis field. And after that, they make quick work of the rest of the colonists. This giant bug is their leader, the Collector General, but in reality, they're just a puppet for Harbinger, a Reaper. When controlling the General, Harbinger can possess the other collectors to get a planet-side view of things, which gives the collectors a sort of hive mind by proxy. But after the Seekers do their work, the other collectors just scoop the colonists up and put them in their holding pods, and that's that. This is the first time that you'll have to fight the collectors, and the thing with them is that they're probably the hardest enemies in the game, especially when they're grouped with the Reapers. Speaking of the Reapers, after you create this group out here, you'll get a look at a husk, and it looks like they've got an upgrade, cosmetically. Combat-wise, they have been a bit downgraded as they don't have their EMP ability anymore, but will smack the sense out of you instead. As you're progressing through the colony, you'll see the frozen colonists, and the twisted thing about this is that while they're frozen, they're also conscious. They can see everything that's going on. Another thing that can make the collectors difficult is that Harbinger will join the battle at times, which makes encounters with the collectors annoying because Harbinger is more of a pressure fighter. He loves launching energy blasts at you. Stay in one place for too long, and you could get blown out of cover, and he never stops coming, so you have to put him down quick. You can use one of their particle beams as a heavy weapon, and it's one of the best ways to deal with them, and it works on the Reapers pretty well too. After you clear out the collectors and open this door, here you'll meet Deland. He was able to escape and hide in this area. You can tell he does not like the Alliance at all, but he will let you know about the Guardian lasers on the other side of the colony. Those can be useful, but the problem is that the calibration is off on them, but we can fix that. Outside, there's more collectors to fight, but it's here that we're introduced to Reaper Scions, the first new Reaper type, unless you count Transform Saren. I can't stand Scions, by the way. These things are slow moving, but the gun that they have is basically the shockwave ability, which will stun you. And then they're a bit tanky as well. It takes time to put them down, even with a sniper rifle. And you can tell Bioware was trying to up the body horror when designing these. You'll notice that there are no colonists around here, meaning that the collectors are wrapping things up. You get to the laser tower, and we'll have Edie calibrated, and you'll have to hold out until Edie finishes. So this is a wave battle. So you have Husk, Scions, Collectors, and another Reaper that gets introduced at the end, the Praetorian. This thing is apparently made up of 30 husks fused together. You can see the heads in its mouth. Like the Scions, they are slow moving, but the downside is that they're a little bit faster than the Scions, and they're always moving towards Shepard, so you have to stick and move at times. It has a particle beam attack, but also a move called Death Choir that it can use to recharge its barriers, but also has a blast radius that can kill you if you're too close to it. Fighting it is really just a matter of getting it to drop its barriers and doing as much damage as possible before it hits the Death Choir. As you're fighting these things, Edie will get the laser online and it will start teeing off, so all that's left is to beat the Flying Menace. It does have a cool death animation though. It basically destroys itself to keep from being studied. The ending of this mission is bittersweet, as not only did we lose most of the colonists, but we also have this confrontation with Ashley. We learned that the defense towers were a front, and that Ashley was really here to investigate Cerberus and Shepard's involvement with them. Apparently the Alliance got a tip that this colony was going to be hit, and that Cerberus could be behind the attack. Ashley is very unhappy that we're working with Cerberus, and refuses to see your side of things. Out of everyone, you would think she would trust Shepard a little bit and at least hear them out, but she's still stuck on Cerberus. Your squad mates can call this out as well, but reaching an impasse, the two sides will say their goodbyes, and Shepard is just ready to go. Back on the Normandy, Shepard and Elusive are discussing the events of the mission, and Elusive Man reveals that he gave the tip to the Alliance that Shepard was alive and working with them. The Elusive Man wasn't going to wait for the Collectors to attack first. He banked on the theory that the Reapers and Collectors were looking for Shepard or those associated with them. Ashley is a known associate, so she and the planet became the bait for the Collectors, and it worked. This was a gamble that ended up working, but at the cost of a lot of colonists, so it doesn't feel like a real victory at the moment. But according to the Elusive Man, it did help to verify which colonies could potentially be hit, so it was a win in that regard. This essentially begins Act 2 of the game, where you're going to be doing more recruiting, but you'll also be exposed to loyalty missions. If you played Mass Effect 1, you'll know that you could do some pseudo-loyalty missions after talking to Tali, Garrus, and Rex enough, but in this game, it's become a core game mechanic, and they're essential to getting the best ending. But we're going to talk about the loyalty missions later. First, we're going to go through the remaining Dossier missions. A new hub world, Ilium, is now available, and another one, Tachanka, will be available after unlocking Grunt or Morden's loyalty missions. And Tally is available for recruitment. To acquire the assassin Thane Krios and the Justicar Samara, we're going to Ilium in the city Nos Astra. Ilium, while mostly dominated by the Asari, is not a council world, and this is mainly due to Ilium being on the edge of the Terminus systems, which are the Wild West of the galaxy in a lot of ways. And because of this, a lot of the laws and regulations are relaxed here, so a lot of shady dealings happen. With Nos Astra being the planet's main hub for commerce, it's where all the moving and shaking happens. This is also where you'll meet up with Liara, who is our Dossier connection for this planet. She's been working as an information broker for the last 2 years. Time in life has really changed this lady. She's a lot more hardened and cynical compared to how she was in Mass Effect 1. She's currently hunting for the Shadow Broker, the galaxy's most notorious information broker. You can try to help her out by hacking different terminals to find a Shadow Broker agent named the Observer, who just happens to be her assistant Nixeris, to who Liara will dispose of after figuring this out, as there will be no trace of Nixeris when we return to our office. Told you she's moving different, but if you don't feel like going through any of this, you could just give her the Dossier and start the DLC, or just not do the missions. As you'll find out, because of Liara's manhunt, you can't acquire her as a squad mate for this game. And if you didn't have the Lair the Shadow Broker DLC at the time, this would have been your only interactions with Liara for the entire game, which I imagine could have been off-putting back in 2010. To start Thane's mission, you need to go talk to Serena. She's Thane's contact. Serena used to work for Nasana Dantius. Remember that, heifer? If you've met Nasana, then you know she's not beyond putting hits on people, even family if it comes down to it. She's been getting her enemies assassinated lately, and Nasana has become paranoid that people are trying to kill her. Understandable considering her own actions, but Serena called her out on it and was fired. But this also got the attention of Thane, who's after her for his own reasons. Serena's willing to help anyone who's willing to help Thane take Nasana out. She'll even give you a ride over to Nasana's new building, the Dantius Towers. This mission starts out crazy, as you'll see some Solarians getting gunned down by some Loki mechs before the mechs turn their attention towards you. Sometimes I like to wait until the dogs break the glass, but this time I engaged first. If you patch up this wounded Solarian, you can learn that the Eclipse mercs that Nasana has on her payroll have been ordered to execute any workers still in the building. They'll also give you an idea of what to expect on the upper floors. Thane is moving through the towers, same as you, to get to Nasana, who's hiding in her penthouse in the other tower. Along the way, you'll save groups of Solarians that are still stuck in the building, and they'll give you some insight on what working for Nasana is like, which is horrible, and an idea of where they saw Thane last. I had a hell of a time with the Krogan and the mercs that came out of this elevator. I got a little too careless and suffered my second death. This cutscene is one of the more famous ones, as a lot of people like to kick this merc out the window, but I'm in the business of information, so I'll convince him that Nasana is not worth dying for, and he'll give you a merc side idea of where Thane could be. I also like this part where Nasana is asking for an update, but you can tell her that no one's coming just to troll her a little bit. This sociopath deserves no less. The bridge is the hardest part of the mission, as you have drones to deal with, along with an Eclipse Commando, but after that, you'll enter Nasana's penthouse. Nasana's paranoia is through the roof, but we'll tell her that we're not here for her, but the one who's after her. Not too long after that, Thane makes his entrance, kills Nasana's guards, and then shoots Nasana in the abdomen, killing her. The way he positions her and prays over her afterwards is sick in a very awesome way, but he's not praying for her, but for himself. Shepard explains that they were seeking Thane out for help with the mission. This was supposed to be Thane's last job as he's dying, but he wants to do as much good in the world as he can before he passes, so he joins up. We get back to the conference room, and Jacob doesn't really care for Thane. Mercenaries in general, honestly, which is kind of hypocritical when considering his own position within Cerberus, but Thane will set up in the life support room. Oh yeah, before we forget, let's talk about Thane's species, the Drell. The Drell are a reptile race that hail from the planet Rakana. Not many Drell remain on the homeworld, as an industrial revolution on the planet in the 1380s led to the destruction of the planet's already fragile ecosystem. Their planet was already arid to begin with, so they basically destroyed whatever arable land they had left, And because the Drell was still a pre-spaceflight species, this meant doom for their race until the Hanar helped them out in the 1980s by helping hundreds of thousands of Drell get off the planet and relocate to the Hanar homeworld Kaje, where they have managed to coexist. The Drell basically act as the Hanar's commandos, carrying out assassinations and the like. On the other hand, the Drell that are left on Rakana are basically in a warring state type of situation, fighting over the remaining resources on the planet. So basically Tachanka light. It's not a perfect situation though. The problem with Kaje is that the planet is about 98% water, so the planet is very humid. This doesn't jive with the Drell's physiology, as they come from a very arid world. This has caused some of the Drell-like things to develop a disease known as Kepro syndrome. The high humidity damages the Drell's lung tissue, which makes it hard for their bodies to take in enough oxygen. It's a progressive disease that eventually leads to death in Drell, so things not long for this world. But on a more positive note, the coolest thing about the Drell is their eidetic memory. They're able to recall almost everything that they've ever done. Sometimes they unintentionally slip into a memory recall. You'll see this happen with Thane, as he does it quite a bit. He's experienced a lot with being an assassin and all. But next we're going after Samara, and for that we'll have to talk to tracking officer Dara. She'll tell you that Samara went to the commercial spaceport a few hours ago, and that you can take a cab there. She can explain a bit about Samara and Justicars. Justicars are like Asari warrior monks. They're very noble, however their code is very straightforward about stopping lawbreakers. As Dara and the smuggler Pitney 4 will tell you, everyone skirts the law on Ilium, so the bodies could pile up quick. Speaking of Pitney, you should talk to him as he's involved in the activities that are going on here. He'll explain that Eclipse Mercs killed his partner Datney Kerr, and that this group of Eclipse are nasty, even by Merc standards. He'll show you where you need to go next, but first you'll need to talk to Detective Anaya. Shepard will tell her that they're looking for Samara for their mission, and Detective Anaya straight up tells them that she has no problem with that, because if she has to bring Samara in for murdering some Eclipse Mercs, things could get ugly. Justicars can't be detained forcefully, or more accurately, they refuse to be. They'll do what they have to do to escape imprisonment, which could lead to a lot of dead bodies. We get to the crime scene, and there are some Eclipse Mercs down here, but they aren't a problem. You'll enter this room, and you'll see Samara applying some pressure to some Mercs. She's looking for information on someone who was sent off on a ship by Eclipse, but the Eclipse lieutenant is keeping her mouth shut out of fear, more or less. Samara gives her one more chance, and then when she refuses, Samara just breaks her neck. Shepard will ask her if she could join them, and while Samara would like to, she's hunting a dangerous criminal, and she needs help to find a ship that they left on. Soon after that, Detective Anaya tells her that she'll have to bring her in for what happened here. Thankfully, Samara is going to be civil about it, and stay at the precinct for one day before blasting her way out. So we have 24 hours to find that name. If we get that name, Samara will join us. Samara will also bring up Pitney 4, and we finally get him to spill the beans about why the Mercs are after him. Apparently, Pitney and his boys sold Eclipse an illegal biotic enhancing powder called Minigen X3. It's toxic in high doses, so some Eclipse Mercs probably died from it and now they're on his ass. We can convince him to give us his pass to get into the Eclipse base. Pitney will also give you a heads up on these Asari, the Eclipse Sisters. These Asari are different. They're very murderous. Each one murders a person to gain their uniform. Now in the Eclipse space, you're going to be dealing with nothing but mechs and Asari, so a lot of barriers and warps being thrown around. This mission has a unique obstacle in the Minigen container scattered everywhere. You can use these to your advantage to strengthen you and your party's biotic attacks, but being exposed to the substance for too long can kill you. Your party members, however, can stay in the clouds for as long as they like. After dealing with that first group, your attention will be brought to this room where you'll meet a rookie merc named Elnora. You can either let her live or kill her, it's really up to you. But she'll bring up that the person that they smuggled off-world was called an Ardat Yakshi, and you can tell that isn't a good name to have. But you'll find out more about that later. And what you'll currently find out is that Elnora killed Datney Kerr. She boomed the hell out that man. So whatever choice you made, it is what it is now. You still have some more mercs to knock off, and eventually you'll run into this gunship that you saw earlier. And I swear Bioware was screwing with you here, as there's no cover when this ship shows up. So you'll have to know to haul ass back behind the wall for cover, unless you could take it out quickly. Also, the gunship will drop off mechs, so you're inclined to take it out as quick as possible. But once you get out of that situation, in the next room, you'll find a shipping manifest that proves that Pitney smuggled Minigen onto the port to get his ass booked later. and you'll run into another of Pitney's crew, Nif2 Cal, or the Biotic God. Our man here is high as a kite, but he'll let you know that the leader of the Nasty Girls, Wasea, is in the other room. You can let Nif2 try his hand at Wasea and get yeeted to oblivion, knock him out, or leave him alone. Either way, we get in the room, and Wasea is looking for heads to bash in. A good thing about Wasea's fight is about any combat approach works here. You do have to be mindful about getting too close to her, as she is packing a claymore which will sit you down quick. And then you do have to worry about her throwing minigun canisters at you. And this fight can be a two-parter. If you don't kill Wasea in a certain amount of time, she'll use her biotics to lift the crates behind her, and she and her goons will retreat backwards to that open space. But after you finish her off, you'll find out what ship they smuggled the Yakshi out on. Back at the spaceport, you can talk to Pitney 4, and he'll ask about his shipping manifest. You can give it to him for a reward, or you can give it to Anaya and have him arrested. But the most important thing is relaying to Samara what ship her target left on. But with our end complete, she'll come with us, but not before swearing an oath to Shepard overriding the rules of the code. She tells you straight up though, make her do anything dishonorable, it will be on a t-shirt when things are done. You can also give Anaya the recording of Honora's confession of killing Datney if you let her go. But with that, our job is done here. Samara will be in the observation room looking out into the vacuum of space. I almost forgot about this part, but if you picked up this shipment here at the crime scene, a Krogan will show up the next time you go back to Ilium. This Krogan works for a Mr. Thax. This Asari and her partner were ripping Thax off, and all I'm going to say is that they better run Thax's money before it's too late. Tali is our last character to acquire for a while. We're going into Quarian/Geth space to the planet Haestrom. And this planet is cursed, but it does add a unique gameplay element to the level. Haestrom's magnetosphere has been weakened by the system's sun, so the radiation coming from the sun fries your shields. You'll have to fight in the shade for the entire level. I would like to add that this is the first time the Geth show up in the main game. If you're dealing with the Quarians, you're dealing with the Geth. So basically, the Quarians were here to study the sun, but because Haestrom is in Geth territory, the Geth found out and sent platforms to the planet, and they've been duking it out ever since. So now your job is to get to Tali before the Geth do. Since you're dealing with the Geth, it would be in your best interest to bring your more tech-savvy squad mates. I'm always going to bring Garrus because we're going for Tali. He has to be there. But I like Miranda for this as well, as she's basically a Sentinel type, so you get tech abilities along with biotic ones. After a while, you're going to reach a point where the Geth and Quarians are squaring off. You'll kill the Geth, but the Quarians have already been laid down. However, you'll also get in contact with a Marine named Cal Rieger, where he explains the ground situation, and it's bad. The flashlights have cut them off from their ship, and the radiation is blocking the Quarians' communications. The Quarians were here to study Haestrom's son Dolan and the issues it's having, and Tali is the head researcher for this project, which is why getting to her is of the utmost importance, alongside getting our girl back. The next area has you looking for detonation charges that you're going to have to use to unblock a doorway. This part can suck mainly because there's higher level Geth here, combined with having to stay in the shade. I tend to just play this by ear and hope I get through it. You'll enter this bunker, and after killing this Geth, you can take a look around, and it was a bloodbath in here. However, this bunker has a communicator where we can reach Tali, and she'll update you on her status. She's fine at the moment. She's locked away in the observatory a bit farther up from here, but the Geth outside are waiting. Speaking of the Geth, in this next area, you're greeted with an interesting challenge. There's going to be a Geth Prime that's going to be spawning recon drones. It will spawn them endlessly, so you'll have to keep pushing up until you meet the Geth Prime, but luckily, or unluckily for you, it starts pushing up as well. And then there's a second one that wants your cheeks too, but the worst part of this level is the Geth Colossus waiting ahead of them. We catch up to Cal Rieger, who gives us the details of the situation. We've got Geth all over the kill zone, with a Colossus in the back ready to smoke you. You can approach this fight in different ways, but for me, I brought my little friend.
No shield.
Watch out, piece of crap.
I suggest bringing the M920 Kane or the mini loot launcher for when you're dealing with heavy mechs. Now all you gotta do is mop up the last Geth troopers and we can get to Tali, and you'll learn about what they're researching in full. So Haestrom's son Dolan is destabilizing, and it's acting like it's entering its red giant phase, which is weird because the sun is too young for that. Tally suggests it could be dark energy that is affecting the star. Okay, I made a video about this a few years ago. I'll link it up top, but there was originally an ending plan for the series centered around the concept of dark energy. However, that plot line was never fleshed out due to the head writer at the time, Drew Karpyshyn, leaving the series after this game, and it's not mentioned at all in Mass Effect 3. So the little tidbits that you get about it in this game are all that you get. After all of this, Tally will give the data to Cal Rieger to take back to the flotilla, and she decides to join us on the Normandy once more. Tally makes it known that she's here for us and us alone. And when Jacob makes a smart comment, Tally's looking like she wants to smack the crap out of him. Tally has always been fierce now. You'll also receive an email from her father, and he's not too happy about the arrangement, but he tells us straight up, keep his daughter safe. After doing a certain amount of missions after completing Horizon, you'll trigger the next main story mission, which is infiltrating a collector's ship. Elusive will tell you that the ship is drifting out in space, apparently damaged by a Turian patrol, and he wants us to investigate it to see if we could get some hard data on the collectors, so that way we could get to their homeworld. The crazy thing about this ship is that it's the same ship that attacked Horizon. There are no enemies for the first part of this mission. It's all about taking everything in and seeing the true horror of the collectors. You'll reach this terminal, and you can see that the collectors were experimenting on their own. But here is where it gets wicked. The collectors are the Protheans. The Protheans were altered and turned into the collector race. What a horrible fate. But all we can do for them now is to help them cross over. This is also when you can get a major weapon upgrade. Since my ship is an infiltrator, I can get either the assault rifle or shotgun training, giving me access to those weapons, or acquire the Widow shotgun. I acquired the Widow shotgun because this thing rips through armor. The next thing revealed about this ship is that it's the same ship that attacked the Normandy 2 years ago, which has to give Shepard a haunting feeling. Shepard and the crew reach a control panel, but the fact that we haven't seen the collectors at all lets you know that this may be a trap. And look, there it is. The platform that the squad is on will start to rise as soon as EDI starts mining for data, and other platforms containing Reapers and Collectors will start attaching to their platform. So now it's a fight in the sky with nowhere to go until EDI regains control of the platform. This fight sucks. Harbinger is his own problem, but then he had the nerve to send Scions up here. You know how much I hate them by now. After EDI regains control, she'll say that there's something fishy about this distress call. Turian emergency channels use secondary encryption, but in the message, it's corrupted. The elusive man wouldn't have missed this, especially since he wrote Cerberus' data protection protocols himself. So he sent us into a trap. We'll have to wait to put our foot in his ass. The ship is starting up, so that means it's time to go. But of course, Harbinger isn't just gonna let us leave, so we're gonna have to fight our way out. This mission really throws everything at you. There's a Praetorian in here, and then near the end of the level, there's about 20 husks you're gonna have to take out, and it's easy to get overwhelmed here. But after all of that, the crew makes it out, and EDI gets us out of the system before the collectors can fire on us. And now it's time to have our talk with O Elusive, and he has some explaining to do. His reasoning is that we needed direct access to collector systems for information on the Omega-4 relay, and the ship was too good to pass up. And he is right on that end. It was worth it, as we learned that the collectors use an advanced Identify Friendly Foe system that the relay can pick up on, and that's our ticket to navigating the Omega-4 relay. He mentions that one of his science teams are working on a derelict Reaper that they somehow found, and they managed to find an IFF, so now we need to go get it. Back in the conference room, EDI managed to triangulate where the collector base is located, and it's located in the galactic core, and it's genius. No one would be able to find their base, much less get to it, lest they risk either getting too close to a black hole or an exploding sun, or be killed by the collectors themselves. But now you have an important choice to make. Either go after the IFF now, or keep building your team. We're gonna go with option 2 because we're not done preparing, and this will all play into the endgame. Now, let's talk about the loyalty missions and the people that we're acquiring. Let's start with Miranda first. The thing that stands out about Miranda is that she is genetically engineered. She was created by her father, Henry Lawson, a powerful businessman. He modified a copy of his own DNA in creating her, so she doesn't have a biological mother. She and Grunt are similar in that they were designed to be perfect. She's able to heal quicker than most humans, and will live longer than most as well. Combine that with her biotics and her looks and intelligence, you have the perfect weapon. She ran away from her father when she was young, as she realized that her father wanted a legacy more than a daughter. He's that type of father where they expect their children to be perfect and live up to their sky-high expectations, not for their own children's sake, but because it looks good on them. She heard about Cerberus through her father's connections. He used to donate to them, and she was able to sign up, and she's been there ever since. If you listen to her talk about herself, she seems to attach her own value to how useful she is to those around her. Kind of a sad way to live, but it gives her the validation that she needs. Miranda reveals that she has a twin sister, genetically named Oriana, that has been under Cerberus protection, and she's been placed with a foster family on Ilium. She's leaving some of the details out here, but it'll all be revealed during the mission. But her father Henry has also figured this out, and she needs our help to keep Oriana out of his hands while the family is being moved somewhere else. You'll meet with Miranda's contact Lintea over in the bar on Ilium, who brings everyone up to speed on the situation. Henry has recruited Eclipse to intercept the family and capture Oriana, but Miranda has enlisted an old friend named the Cat to help her out. He's offered to escort the family to the transport terminal himself, and Miranda's okay with that, so we get to the transport terminal where Eclipse is waiting for us. This merc, on orders from this group's leader Enyawa, is giving us a chance to leave, and I never paid too much attention to this, but this conversation seems to be foreshadowing that Miranda is hiding some of the details from us. The interrupt here is awesome, by the way, but either way, we don't take the deal. Now it's a race to get to Oriana. A little while into the mission, Miranda reveals everything concerning her sister. When she left her father, she took an infant Oriana with her. She's grown now, but it does look bad, even though Miranda's intentions were good. Shepard can bring up if Naket can be trusted. Miranda says that he can, as he knows what her pops is like. Okay, Miranda. I found the combat in this level to be kinda basic. At this point, you're probably used to fighting Eclipse and the other mercs anyway, so there's not much to talk about here. The story takes center stage for this mission. Once the gang gets to the transport terminal, the twist happens. Naket is working with the Eclipse mercs, and this can lead to Shepard asking a very important question. Did Naket know that Miranda took Oriana from her father? And you can tell that Miranda never put too much stock into that, as she never told him about it until recently. Oh, Miri. But anyway, we get to the spaceport, and there's Naket and Enyawa. Enyawa just wasted this poor dock worker. I tell y'all, these Eclipsosari are different. Naket explains why he betrayed Miranda. It's because of the very thing that she hid from him, never telling him that she took Oriana as a baby from her father. Henry called him up and mentioned this, but he didn't believe it until Miranda told him herself. So when that happened, he called Henry back and worked out a deal with him, and he was paid damn well for it. Why Miranda never told him? I'll never know. This is a touchy situation, as it's understandable why Miranda took Oriana. However, Naket is not exactly wrong in how he feels about the situation, but this is not it. However, Naket was smart about this. Knowing that Miranda was keeping an eye on her father's communications, he kept the information offline. He's the only one who knows. Since he is the only loose end, Miranda can kill him, or you can do a Paragon interrupt and Naket will come up with another solution that still hides Oriana. Right as Miranda says she doesn't want to see him again, Enyawa will shoot him in the back, which leads to this.
You'll die for that, bitch!
So now you have Enyawa and her squad to deal with. The most important thing about this mission is to keep an eye on Enyawa and the Vanguard. The last thing you want is for them two to be at close range with those boomsticks. But after you defeat Enyawa, Shepard and Miranda will talk about what happened with Naket. The conversation is different depending on whether you let Miri pop him or not. But the mission ends on a brighter tone as Miranda gets to meet her sister, and you can push her to talk to her, or not. After this mission, Miranda will become more open with you. I think she's found some peace in her life, and having Shepard as a friend to confide in helps things. It's at this point that you can start developing a relationship with her, if you choose to. That's the case with all of the squad mates. After you complete their loyalty missions, you can start romancing. Like in Mass Effect 1, the choices are straightforward. Man to woman, woman to man, with a bisexual option in Kelly. You can also have an incomplete relationship with Samara, where you can go for it, but her reluctance keeps it from happening. There's also the case of Liara, but we're going to talk about that one later. Next we got Jacob. Jacob is an ex-Alliance soldier, who left the Alliance after witnessing how the politicians handled Eden Prime in the Battle of the Citadel. Jacob was also part of a group known as the Corsairs. They were Alliance Marines serving under independent starship captains. They used to carry out specific missions the Alliance may not want to touch. In theory, Corsairs were kind of like Spectre Lights, in that they would be able to move with more autonomy, but in reality, they were still wrapped up in bureaucratic red tape. Plus, if you got caught, the Alliance could act like they didn't even know you, so if they got busted, they were on their own, and I wouldn't like that. But a ghost has re-entered Jacob's life. He receives an update about a ship called the Hugo Gernsback that has sent out an SOS and is requesting a rescue. Jacob's father, Ronald Taylor, served on this ship, but the thing about it is that this ship disappeared 10 years ago. Needing some closure on the situation, Jacob will ask Shepard if they can go check things out. And this is one of the more disturbing missions in Mass Effect history. First of all, the ship crashed in the back of the galaxy. It would have taken the ship a while to be found on that fact alone, but what really makes this mission so disturbing is the slow realization of what happened here. If you talk to the Beacon VI, you'll learn a few things. How the ship crashed, about the local food's neural decay. The plant life on this planet is toxic to humans. You'll learn how Ronald was made captain after the original one died in the crash. Plus, the record of the beacon activation has been deleted. Sketchy. If you go into the ship, you can find records of the crew after the crash. You can hear how the neural decay was starting to affect some folks. You'll hear about Taylor's leadership abilities in this.
She even threatened to report if I didn't stop sending messages. But now she's so innocent. They all are. And the look she gives when she smiles. It's sure easier now. What's the harm? We're stuck here.
Hell no, to the no, no, no.
A little ways up from the beacon, you'll meet this woman who will somewhat fill you in on what's happening here. But not too long after that, some of the ship's crew members, or hunters in this case, will start blasting and you'll have to put them down. Things will get even weirder, as you'll reach this camp where there's nothing but women, who are instantly scared when they see Jacob's resemblance to Ronald. There's a freaking tower dedicated to him. And if the early recording wasn't a clue, women will let you know that there was some freak-ass activities happening here. If you go past the main camp, there will be some hostile mechs, destroy them, and the ship's doctor will call you over. She'll give you a logbook providing more details as to what went down here. It basically went like this. After the ship's crash, Ronald was promoted to ship captain. Some didn't agree to it, and eventually, he and other officers turned the mechs on them and punished whoever didn't fall in line. Once the crew was in line, eventually Ronald turned the mechs on the other officers. So now he's the only officer remaining. It was known that the plant life was toxic, but with limited rations, most of the crew would have had to eat the toxic food and hope for treatment later. This is why almost everyone has gone feral. The men eventually started fighting back. This is how we got the hunters. The beacon repair shouldn't have taken this long. After being lied to for so long, they revolted and are now on his ass. And as for the women, well, they're his own personal harem. Things have finally gotten too hot for him, so it was now that he decided to finally activate the beacon. It's time to make our way towards his camp, and you'll start hearing from the man himself. This mission is a bit different enemy-wise, as you're mainly dealing with non-merc humans and mechs. I think this is one of the only missions in the game with that specific matchup. And I absolutely hate the Loki mechs in this mission, as there are a lot of them, back to back. Jacob's disgust at his father is so apparent. You do feel bad for him. This is sick as hell. You'll eventually reach the base camp, where we'll have to fight his own personal forces, made up of the crew members of the Gernsback and a heavy mech. After dealing with them, you'll confront the man himself and decide his fate. I choose jail time because death is way too easy for him. And the worst part of this is that he doesn't really feel sorry for what happened here, only that he disappointed Jacob. Back on the ship, Jacob and Shepard are talking to the elusive man as they think that he was the one who sent the message to Jacob. But he actually didn't this time. He's actually kind of pissed about it. It was actually Miranda that did it. She did it as a way of returning an old favor to him. She's gonna get chewed out by the elusive man for breaking protocol, but Jacob got his closure whether he liked it or not. Our boy Garrus is back, and he's been through a lot, physically and mentally. As we know at this point in the story, Garrus didn't go back to C-Sec after Shepard died. He made his way to Omega and formed a team to prevent the civilians from the gangs there. All of his teammates lost someone to Omega's gangs at some point, so they were eager to join him. However, one of his teammates named Sidonis betrayed him and got everyone but Garrus killed. And now Garrus is seething with rage and guilt and wants revenge. And eventually, Garrus finds a lead on Sidonis. Apparently, he's been seen with a guy named Fade, who helps people disappear off the grid. Garrus is dead set on killing the guy. He would like our help with getting to Sidonis, which takes us to the Citadel, and this place looks a lot different than before. The Citadel is much more condensed, with us mainly being in the wards, compared to being able to go to CSEC headquarters and exploring the Presidium in the first game. The Presidium in this game is the Earth Counselor's office. You can still explore the wards, buy items from merchants, talk to NPCs. Same goes for the other hub worlds. The concept hasn't changed much from Mass Effect 1, the areas are just smaller. I did mention the hub world details earlier, so I'm adding them in here. Earlier in the game, you will receive an email from Anderson to meet with him in the council to discuss our activities as of late. You'll only be able to meet with the original council if you saved them in the first game, but mainly this meeting is because of Shepard's involvement with Cerberus. And you'll hear it from the horse's mouth that the council is denying the existence of the Reapers, and are convinced that Saren was behind the Citadel attack. Honestly, I believe part of it is because they can't completely prove Sovereign was behind the attacks, and when you combine that with the fear of having to acknowledge a threat like that, it's easier to deny it and put things completely on Saren and the Geth. If I was Shepard, I would be beyond pissed at this, plus the fact that they're trying to saddle them with treason, but Anderson wasn't having any of that. So as a gesture of good faith, the council will restore your Spectre status in return for Shepard staying out in the Terminus systems. However, if Udina was made ambassador, he won't restore your Spectre status, that prick. But Anderson's demeanor is a bit cold if you talk to him. He's not happy about Shepard working for Cerberus, although he is happy to see that they're alive. He'll inform you on the status of things on the Citadel and stuff like that. As far as CSEC, they're still around in-game, but it's just this one district. And this is where you'll meet Captain Bailey, who is your point of contact for the hub world. This guy becomes one of Shepard's better associates. He'll also mention that Fade is good at skirting around CSEC systems. Keep that little piece of info in mind. When we get to the place, you'll see a Volus and some Krogan with the Volus claiming to be Fade. We need to know how to get to Sidonis, and Garrus is on that BS already, but it makes the Krogan stand down. Now that his security is gone, the Volus will give you details on Fade. The big reveal is that Fade is Harkin. They finally kicked his ass out of CSEC. About time. That explains why he's able to skirt CSEC though. He was one of the first CSEC officers. Of course he would know how CSEC operates. This is one of the harder loyalty missions to me, as you'll have to fight quite a few heavy mechs in this mission. You'll usually see Eclipse with the largest number of mechs, but the Blue Suns tend to have the heavies. Make sure that you bring the right weapons for this level. When you get to the back of the warehouse, you can talk to Garrus, and this man is on edge. He's ready to catch some bodies today. This part of the mission sucks because of the heavy mechs here. After dealing with the welcoming party, it's time to press Harkin, and that's exactly what Garrus does. After roughing him up a bit, Harkin will arrange a meeting between Sidonis and the agent. The agent in this case will be us. Afterwards, Garrus will try and shoot him as Harkin is now a real criminal, but you can stop him. In the card, you can show some concern for Garrus and how he may be changing for the worse. You can offer to talk to Sidonis, but at the moment, Garrus has made up his mind. Sidonis is dying today. The plan is for Shepard to approach Sidonis and talk to him while Garrus sets up with his sniper rifle. You can handle this in two ways. You can let Garrus take the shot when Sidonis has been made, or you can tell him to stay still and let the conversation play out. Sidonis explains that he betrayed the team because he got cornered by the mercs. He sold them out to save himself. This has obviously taken a toll on Sidonis' mental state. He's basically dead inside. At this point, you can again let Garrus kill him or convince Garrus to spare him. If Garrus spares him, Sidonis will promise that he'll make it up to Garrus. Now I understand killing Sidonis here, he definitely has it coming, as he did screw Garrus and the team pretty hard, but the reason I never do it is because of this email from the wife of one of his fallen men. She wants Garrus to not blame himself for what happened, and I feel like by letting him kill Sidonis, I feel like I'm letting him lose a part of himself. Plus, it's more of a punishment to let Sidonis carry that guilt. I feel like this mission is a look into how grief can change a person if you let it. Up next is Thane, and as you know by now, Thane is an assassin and a pretty good one. Unlike most assassins who prefer to kill their targets from long range, Thane prefers to kill his targets up close, like we saw with Nasana. I would say the thing that stands out about Thane the most is that he's very religious. Although his spirituality can clash with his profession at times, despite his rationale that assassins are similar to weapons used to commit murder. Thane was married once, had a wife, a son, but the thing about being an assassin is that the kills can come back to bite you. It led to the death of his wife. And as far as his son, well, that's what this mission is about. Thane is estranged from his son Koyat, mainly due to his job as an assassin. Thane has gotten word that his son has taken up a contract on the Citadel, and not wanting to see him go down the same path, he asked Shepard to help him out. The interesting thing about this mission is that it's a non-combat mission. It's a nice break from all the heavy combat missions you've done at this point. The first stop is with Captain Bailey, who sympathizes with Thane's plight and directs the two to Mouse, who was actually an old associate of Thane's. Thane used to use Mouse and the other Dut Rat kids, basically homeless kids, to do surveillance for him. Koyat somehow learned of Mouse, and Mouse, being a guy who has connections in the Citadel underworld, got him in contact with Elias Kellum, one of the most powerful gang leaders on the station. We'll go back to Bailey, but things get complicated after we drop Kellum's name. See, he and Bailey have a deal. Kellum bribes Bailey, and Bailey looks the other way. Bailey did say that police in the ward is like police in New York City, for better or for worse, but he'll help the two out anyway. He'll have Kellum brought in so that Shepard and Thane can interrogate him on his arranged hit. Unfortunately, his lawyer is right outside, so you'll have to decide on how you want to handle this. It's a good cop, bad cop scenario. You can put the screws to Kellum to get the information out of him, or you can try and reason with him. There is a middle ground between the two, but if you stretch things out for too long, his lawyer will make his way in. But once Shepard lets it be known that they're a Spectre, the lawyer says to Kellum that he's no help here, so Elias will tell the two that the hit is on a Turian politician named Jerome Talid. The Citadel elections are coming up, and Talid is an anti-human politician. Obviously that wouldn't be beneficial to Kellum and the other human gangsters if he got elected, so Kellum enlisted Koyat's services to have him whacked. The actual mission part is basically following Talid through the wars. The Wayne thing disappears here is badass, by the way.
Amon Kira, Lord of Hunters, grant that my hands be steady, my aim be true, and my feet swift. And should the worst come to pass, grant me forgiveness.
But tailing Talid, you can see how he handles his affairs, which is very sketchy. I do like these type of missions, as they allow you to see parts of the Citadel that you normally can't get to. But eventually Koyat will show himself, to which Shepard will call his name. Having his cover blown doesn't deter him though, as he blasts on Talid's bodyguard and corners Talid in his office, with the two and Bailey and his men showing up. From what I can recall, there's 3 ways that this can end. One of them ends with Talid dead, but for everyone to get out alive with no holes in them, use the Paragon Interrupt. If you do, Thane will try to talk his son down, and you can feel the tension through the screen. Koyat is not happy to see him. He feels abandoned. Things get deep. Old wifey / mama got killed because Thane's ops were looking for him. But when Thane found out that they were all on the Citadel, he wiped them all out. Kellum has Thane to partially thank for his rise to power, but this conversation is not meant for our ears, so Bailey is going to give them some space to talk things out. And you can even convince Bailey to give Koyat community service, or you can coerce him into employing him outright. I'm sure this is a great weight off of Thane's shoulders if this is the outcome. If you haven't done this already, before you leave the Citadel, go and acquire Kasumi from the ad terminal here. You'll have to give her a little password first, but this is Kasumi Goto, the best thief in the galaxy. In exchange for her services, Kasumi needs our help acquiring her partner Keiji Akuta's gray box from a businessman named Donovan Hawk. A gray box is a neural implant that can store memories. Keiji ended up stealing some critical information, galaxy-altering information, and Hawk killed him so that he could obtain that information for himself. She's planning a heist to get the gray box back, and she'll need our help to pull it off. I really wish that Kasumi had a dialogue wheel. From what I've read, Kasumi and Zaid were supposed to be main squad mates, but they ended up getting reduced to DLC, which is a shame because their characters are worthy of the full experience. In my opinion, Kasumi is one of the better characters in the series. Kasumi is the galaxy's most notorious thief. There's a lot of people looking for her, and as a result, she stays cloaked most of the time. On the surface, Kasumi is what you would expect from a master thief. She's very observant. She's the only one who noticed a change in one of your squad mates. We'll revisit that later, but she's also a woman of death. She does have a genuine love for the arts and is playful in nature, a very interesting person. She also has a crush on Jacob, but I don't think that Big Jake ever picked up on that. As for the mission, to get to Keiji's gray box, we're gonna have to do this heist style, by breaking into Hawk's vault. We won't have our weapons and armor starting out except for a sidearm. The rest are stashed and are present to Hawk. A golden statue of Saren. But the plan hits a snag as Kasumi is turned away at the door. I mean, she does look shady looking. But the plan will press on. Kasumi will just have to stay close while we're in the more populated areas of the mansion. We'll get to the vault, and to access it, we'll have to get a recording of Hawk's voice, along with the password for the vault itself. Then we'll need to cut the power to the force field. Lastly, we need to get into Hawk's bedroom to get some samples for the DNA scanner. The tasks themselves aren't particularly difficult. After you scan the power lines, find the power conduit behind the statue and disable it. Talk to Hawk, he'll eventually give this underworld speech. Break into the security office, take out the guards, and get the password. Hawk's bedroom can be handled in two ways. The first is breaking in. You can jump the rail here and sneak on his balcony. However, the second you break the glass, the Eclipse Mercs will fire on you, so you'll have to kill them to get to the bedroom. The second way is tricking the guard outside the door. For this to work, you'll have to find the data pad concerning Chief Rowe and have cleared the security office. This allows Kasumi to tap into Eclipse's communications and impersonate Rowe. This way you won't have to fight anybody. Once in the bedroom, you're surveyed the different areas to get enough samples for the scanner. Please don't go to the alarm clock. Eclipse Mercs will be all up in this room if you broke in here. Once you have what you need, you can now bypass the DNA scanner and enter the vault. Y'all, look at this art collection. Hawk definitely has variety in here. He even has the Statue of Liberty's head. But you have to find the gray box and the proximity gauge with which you know how close you are to it. When you reach the gray box, there will be a Casa Locust machine gun right next to it. Apparently this gun is infamous. But when you grab the gray box, Hawk's giant head comes up on screen. He had a feeling that it was Kasumi at the door, so that's why he turned her away. And now he's threatening us. And eventually Chief Rowe and her mooks will come in. And I'll say this part of the mission is a bit difficult, as it's just you and Kasumi. And while Kasumi has her strengths, she's not the best in a straight up fight. I say that because after you beat Chief Rowe and go into Hawk's bunker, you have to face a heavy mech. Make sure you brought a heavy weapon that's good at crowd control, because the Eclipse are swarming down here. I did like this part of the mission. We have to use this cannon to blow up these gas tanks. I love when developers lean into Shepard's more improvisational type skills, which is usually blowing things up. Also, I understand how Hawk got his reputation. This is quite the setup. I did get annoyed at the fact that you have to fight two heavies down here, and Hawk's threats. He doesn't understand the pressure that we're bringing down on him right now, but after dealing with the Eclipse in the building, Hawk will show up in his gunship. You'll have to take him out while fending off Eclipse. But to get rid of Hawk, you have to bring down his shields. About halfway through the fight, a cutscene will play out with Kasumi making her way to Hawk's ship and shorting out his shields. Now we can finish off Hawk, and he goes down in a blaze of glory. I wish we got this house as a hideout though. That would have been so sick. But Kasumi now has the gray box and is able to say goodbye to Keiji. However, Keiji wants her to destroy the data, but Kasumi doesn't want to as it's tied to his memories. Destroying one destroys the other. Keiji found out some information that could start a war. Info that people like Hawk would kill for. He doesn't want that kind of trouble to follow her. You have the option of telling her to keep the files or to destroy them. I went with destroy because it's better for her in the long run, although it will hurt at the moment. For Tachanka, there are two loyalty missions to take care of. One for Morton and one for Grunt. Grunt is our tank bred squad mate. He was given the tools to be great from his creator Okir, but is inexperienced in life. More or less what it means to be a Krogan. However, as a Krogan, that violent streak is inbred, so he fights with Shepard to satisfy that itch. But overall, his story arc is centered around finding himself as a Krogan. When you go to talk to Grunt later, the man is pacing around, anxious. His words, he wants to tear something apart with his hands. Obviously, there is something going on with him, but since there aren't many sources on Krogan physiology available, our only option is to go to Tachanka, and it looks like you probably envisioned it would, like hell. But coming here allows us to catch up with an old friend, if you didn't kill him in the last game. After Shepard died, Rex went back to Tachanka and became ruler of the planet. and because of that, he couldn't join us for this game. If Rex dies in Mass Effect 1, then his brother Reeve will be in charge instead. Rex has big plans for Tuchanka. He wants to bring more positive change to the planet, but as you'll see, he has some opposition to that. But the main reasons we're here are for Grunt and Mordin. We learned that the right is a very big deal for young Krogan, and that it gives them a sense of identity in which the other Krogan know that they're worthy of being part of the clans that they inhibit. You can handle Uvenk any way you want here, but the shaman is always going to be on your side. You are a part of Grunt's Krant, his blood brother so to speak, so we need to be there to support him. How the right works is that you'll have 3 rounds of enemies to fight. To trigger the rounds, you'll have to activate the keystone which summons the beast. The first round is Varen, which aren't too bad, but if you do need some health and ammo, there's plenty scattered around the level. The second round introduces 2 new enemies, the Harvester and the Kiltsin. Harvesters will drop Kiltsin into the level, and these are fire-breathing enemies, so you'll need to keep them at bay. That's not too hard, as these enemies are slow-moving. The only thing you need to be careful about is that these things can explode if you freeze them solid. Once the Harvesters stop coming, it's time to hit the keystone again to trigger the final mission. In this last battle, oh boy. It's against a Thresher Maw, and there's no Mako to help you out this time. Avoid the Maw's acid spit at all costs. Their attack still has splash damage, and it can destroy most of your cover. I like to hide behind the keystone area when it's on the sides, and go for a pillar when it's facing you. This strategy works pretty well for me. You don't have to kill it, you just need to survive for 5 minutes. But you will get unique dialogue from Rex and the other Krogan if you do kill it. After the right, Uvenk and his men will show up. If you killed the Maw, he'll reveal that Rex was the last person to kill one of them. But anyway, he comes with a proposal for Grunt to join his clan. However, it's half-hearted. He mainly wants him to score political points. Grunt naturally refuses, and this leads to a fight against Clan Gatatog. And I don't know if it's just me, maybe it was the difficulty I was playing it on, but the Gatatog clan seem a bit more passive than your average Krogan. But after killing Uvenk, you'll go back to Urdnot where the shaman will welcome Grunt into Clan Urdnot. You can talk to the shaman and learn about how he became one in the first place, and yeah, let's say you have respect for the guy after what he tells you. But that pretty much ends the mission. Next, we got Mordin. In my opinion, few characters have affected the story of Mass Effect quite like Dr. Mordin Solus. Mordin is a former Solarian STG officer, and that group are a bit different compared to most Solarians that you'll see. They're about that action, as the Mercs on Omega found out. Mordin carries out his goals with an almost ruthless efficiency. The best way to describe Mordin is that he's very pragmatic. He may be one of the greatest scientific minds the galaxy has ever seen. After retiring from STG, Mordin could have worked anywhere he wanted to, but he chose Omega. Why? Well, for Mordin, it allows him to use his talents in a more direct way, to heal people instead of the more complex operations of STG. If he had to deal with the Mercs and the other seedy individuals, so be it. If he had to deal with the Mercs and the other seedy individuals, so be it. As long as he can help those who need it, he's fine with that. Mordin as a whole is a very layered character. He'll tell Shepard about his time with STG, more importantly his role in the genophage. He reveals that the Krogan were starting to adapt to the genophage, so he had led a team to Tuchanka to modify it, a brand new genophage. The Solarians see the genophage as necessary. To put it bluntly, no genophage equals Krogan expansion equals Krogan Rebellions Part 2. The Krogan breed white rabbits, so it makes sense, but it's highly unethical in practice. But Mordin's loyalty mission is about rescuing one of his students who worked on the project named Malin. He was captured by the Blood Pack and he wants to go to Tuchanka to rescue him. If you talk to Rex, he'll direct you to his head scout. The scout will tell you that since it's the Blood Pack, then Koya and Werewolf has him. They were the ones who started the Blood Pack. But anyway, the scout will give you info on Werewolf's base. They're holed up in an old Krogan hospital, and they're led by Werewolf Gold. The other members of the clan worship him because he has 2 children, one of them being a girl, almost unheard of with Krogan today. But anyway, he'll give us a truck to get to their base, and he'll ask us to help him find his missing scout if we can. On the way to the base, you can see more of Tuchanka, and it really makes you wonder how this planet looked before the nuclear winter happened. But when you get to the base, you'll have to fight Varen, Kiltsin, and Blood Pack to reach the entrance. Also, before you go into the base, Make sure to grab the combustion manifold to give to the mechanic back at Erdnot. But anyway, there were some sick experiments happening here, because why is there a human? According to Morden, humans are perfect as a control group for these type of experiments. It's time to burn this place down now, and we've got our first victims. The Speaker of Clan Werewolf and his bodyguards will show up. He'll give us a chance to walk away, but not before telling you how their clan is using Maywin to cure the genophage. If you're starting to get tired of his yapping, you can do the Renegade interrupt and blow the tanks, or let him finish his spiel. Either way, the Krogan will attack you. This tends to be one of my rare Renegade moments, because the less Krogan to fight, the better. What I really like about this mission is that it makes Morden come face to face with the other side of the genophage. The side where you can't hide behind all the simulations. The people who deal with it. There are Krogan who volunteered to be test subjects because they were desperate for a cure. Unfortunately, they died doing so. Morality plays a lot into Morden's storyline. When he tries to justify his actions for modifying the genophage, he's conflicted on whether he should have. The Krogan scout is locked in a room on the other side of the research lab. He states that he wasn't captured, but instead wanted to stay to help cure the genophage. Not knowing that once Clan Werewolf was cured, they were going to wipe out the other clans. You have to convince him to leave. After this, it is basically fighting through the Blood Pack and Gold. This area has a lot of explosive crates, so use them to take down the Krogan's armor. I do like this area as a whole. It's one of the more interesting areas to fight in during the game. Once you deal with the Blood Pack, you can deal with Maywin, and it becomes obvious that he wasn't kidnapped. He came here willingly to cure the genophage. He didn't agree with the ethics of the genophage, and he's here to correct the wrong that he feels the Solarians have carried out for far too long. That's good and all, but there is a problem with you using live test subjects. That can get you locked up for a long time, which Morden calls him out on. But Maywin rationalizes it in saying that his hands are already dirty, and that it'll be worth it when the genophage is cured. You can try to reason with Maywin, but it ends with Morden charging him, and he's prepared to kill him. You can either wit him, or you can talk him down. If you stop Morden, Maywin will leave, and you can choose what to do with his research data, and that's the end of the mission. If you go and talk to Morden on a Normandy, you will see that he's pretty much past what happened, or so we thought, but that's the end of Tachanka. Our Justicar friend Samara has some business that she needs to attend to, and she needs our help. Remember that Ardat Yakshi that they were hunting on Ilium? She's found a lead on her, and she needs our help to stop her. This Ardat Yakshi is her own daughter who goes by the name of Morov. The reason she needs to be caught is the nature that can come with an Ardat Yakshi. The reason these Asari are looked down upon by the others is for two reasons. Number one, Ardat Yakshi are sterile. They can't have any children of their own. For the Asari, melding, especially with the other races, is important, as by melding with those races, it adds to their own gene pool. It's why purebloods like we are frowned upon. They're not adding anything, so to speak. But to mate with an Ardat Yakshi, oh boy. Reason number two, a lot of Ardat Yakshi kill their mates. When Asari meld with others, it's a combination of nervous systems as well. Ardat Yakshi overwhelm their mates' nervous systems and burn them out, basically leaving them as a vegetable, and then they die. This is not always the case, but the psychopathy side of them can still appear in different ways. With Ardat Yakshi, they're given two choices. Either live in the monasteries designed for them, or be killed. There's no in between. Some of them get off on this kind of power, like a form of sexual sadism. And unfortunately, Moral fits into this category, so it's important that we stop her. Samara theorizes that the true reason purebloods are hated is that Ardat Yakshi can only be pureblood Asaris, so the stigma against pureblood relationships became prominent. Samara's story is sad. She once had a family. She was married, had 3 daughters. All of her daughters were purebloods. All of them became Ardat Yakshi. Samara is a pureblood herself, which could have led to them developing the disorder. 2 of them decided to live in the monastery. Morph, on the other hand, decided to run. Morph is the main reason Samara became a Justicar, so that she could dedicate herself to hunting her down. And I don't blame her, because some of the things her daughter has done are sick. We're back to Omega for this one. You can talk to Arya, who will let you know that Morph has struck. She has killed this girl named Neff, and by going through Neff's things, you can get a feel for what Morph likes and how she chooses her victims. But anyway, this takes us to the VIP section of Afterlife. Why we're unable to come back here after this mission baffles me, but the plan is for us to lure Morph out by being the life of the party, while Samara lies and waits for her opportunity to spring our trap. If Morph sees Samara, she'll disappear, so it's all on Shepard here. After you get things turned up, Morph will show herself and lead you to her table. Your conversation with her makes or breaks this mission. You have to remember everything you heard about Morph to this point. If you mess up, you're gonna have to restart the mission, so play it right. If you do, she'll take you back to her crib, where her demeanor changes a bit. Her bloodlust is apparent right now. You'll sit down with her, and you can subtly let her know that you're on to her. And when she figures this out, in comes Samara and the two fight. Now you have a choice to kill Samara or Morph. Of course I'm killing Morph, because why would I allow a sex-crazed serial killer on the ship who can't control themselves? Plus, we need Samara's auntie energy. She'll cave Morph's face in just dang. Now, if you kill Samara, Morph will masquerade as her on the ship. But she doesn't fool everyone, cause Sumi will notice that something's up. And do not sleep with her. You will die. But either way, both are now loyal. If you talk to Samara afterwards, she grieves for her daughter, but is at peace that she's not a terror to the galaxy anymore. Speaking of serial killers, it's time to help Jack. As I mentioned earlier, Jack is mentally damaged. I never knew this, but she was born on Eden Prime. However, she was abducted by Cerberus when she was 4 and grew up in the Telton facility on Pragia. Around this time, Cerberus were looking into the biotic potential of children, particularly those who were exposed to Element Zero in utero. The Telton facility was designed for this purpose, but the experiments that went on there were inhumane. Eventually, a riot broke out and Jack escaped, and has been living a life full of violence and misuse ever since. Jack is looking for closure in her life. She wants to go back to the Telton facility and destroy it. For this mission, I like to take Miranda just for story reasons. This planet looks awesome, by the way. It's basically one giant rainforest, but this mission has you going down memory lane, learning about Jack's childhood and what happened in his facility. They were basically performing experiments on kids here to bring out the true biotic potential in humans. The kids were subjected to some inhumane treatment. It does hit hard hearing from Jack about everything that happened here and what those kids went through, especially that the other kids were being used to create the ultimate biotic in Jack. Jack is taken aback by that fact, as she thought things happened differently. She thought that she caused the riot, but it was the other kids that did. But when Jack got free, her mental trauma caused her to go crazy and kill everyone on the station. Being young and under that much stress, it makes sense that she doesn't remember everything. It makes you question the things that people will do in the pursuit of advancement. This series has a way of making you think about that. But there are enemies here. The Blood Pack are here, led by Kurek. I mean, the Blood Pack are here, but they're honestly secondary to everything else in this mission. This mission is more about the story. Kurek and his boys were hired by a guy named Aresh, and after dealing with them, you go into Jack's old room and you can confront the guy. Aresh is also a survivor of the Telton facility. He was called back to this place just like her, except he wants to restart the facility. He rationalized that what they went through must have been worth the pain and suffering. Sorry, Aresh, we've come to blow this place sky high, and Jack wants to kill him for this, but nah, it wouldn't do no good at this point. After dealing with Aresh, Jack will want to look around her old room for a bit, and then she'll want to leave. She blows up the building with this huge ass bomb, and that's that. I'm sure this was therapeutic for her. She did have to relive the past, but she also saw what could happen if she doesn't let the past go and end up like Aresh. With her mind now set towards the future, she's now loyal to you, but Houston, we have a problem, and I've been waiting to talk about this. After you complete both Jack and Miranda's loyalty missions, Joker will tell you that Jack went to have a talk with Miranda, and they're about to squabble in here. Loyalty is a core gameplay mechanic in this game. Certain squad mates will have confrontations and you'll have to help them iron it out. Taking sides can make you lose that squad mate's loyalty, which can affect the final mission and beyond. However, you can regain their loyalty if your Paragon or Renegade points are high enough. To get the squad mates to see reason without losing their loyalty, you have to have high enough Paragon or Renegade points. Thus, it's important not to do certain loyalty missions back to back. This is one of the 2 times this happens in the game, but it's just something to keep in mind. This also brings up something about Mass Effect 2 that should be talked about. Mass Effect 2 to me is the least flexible game in the trilogy when it comes to Paragon and Renegade actions. To get the benchmarks you need, about 90% of your actions will lead in one direction or the other for most of the game. But this is just how I feel about it. I don't know if you guys feel the same. But after we deal with that disaster, we have another to attend to. After Mass Effect 1, Tali went back to the migrant fleet. She has risen up the ranks in the Quarian fleet pretty fast, especially if they had her leading excavations within Geth territory. Her role in the first game, plus family ties, definitely helped with that, but none of that matters right now. Our girl has gotten herself into some big trouble. Tali is being accused of treason, so we need to bring her back to the migrant fleet to stand trial. Tali doesn't know what she's being charged with at the moment, but this mission is fun as you get to get involved in Quarian politics. It's a good thing that the Quarians don't do executions, but the story Tali tells about another Quarian in the same position was unsettling. We get to the flotilla and meet Tali's birthship captain, Cardana Naraya. Because of his connection to Tali, he can't help us here, but he does reveal that Tali is being charged with bringing active Geth back to the fleet. Yeah, that's a huge no-no, but she states that she only sent back parts and pieces, and that she checked everything to make sure that nothing was active. Okay, Tali. Cardana technically has to place Tali under arrest until the hearing, so we're stuck here. But that gives us time to meet Tali's people like Admiral Shalaran. She's a friend of Rael Zora. She's like an aunt to Tali. She has to recuse herself to a degree, but she'll be on the judge's stand as a moderator. Our job is simply to present the best case we can and hope for the best. Ship captains act as counselors or warriors for their people. So yeah, Shepard has to defend her. That's enough exposition though. Trial time.
In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police who investigate crime and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories.
We meet the other admirals. Admiral Garrow leads the heavy fleet. Tali actually served under him before she joined back up with us. Admiral Chorus leads the civilian fleet, and Admiral Zen leads special projects. There is some infighting to start out after Shepard's smart comment, but things settle down. Ron will bring up the charge of bringing active Geth back to the migrant fleet. Zen elaborates that it's more about parts that can spontaneously reactivate. Tali will reiterate her stance, but that's when Chorus drops this bombshell.
Then explain how Geth seized the lab ship where your father was working.
Tali is obviously distraught at this news, and seeing that this is an emergency, Shepard's more worried about ensuring the safety of the Quarian fleet, and Tali needs to find her father, so an agreement is struck to secure the ship. And man, Chorus is being an asshole here. But now that we're in recess, you can talk to the other admirals and get their opinions on things. Shawa first, because Tali has some words for her. Shawa withheld her father's situation so that her reaction to it would be genuine, giving Tali a chance to find something to exonerate herself. The other admirals are scattered across the courtyard, and you can get their perspective on things. Admiral Garrow is more on Tali's side, as any tech that can help against the Geth would be useful. Besides the trial, there are talks about possibly going to war with the Geth tied into things, with Garrow being pro-war. This debate is the hidden reason things have gotten to this point. Rael's research could fast-track the Quarians' progress to war, and his and Tali's carelessness could have doomed the fleet. It's all tied together. Admiral Chorus is for peace with the Geth instead of war. His gripe with Tali is centered around this. Anything that Rael was working on pushes the Quarians closer to war with the Geth. She's in his crosshairs too, but he's not really a bad guy. He just doesn't want the war to happen. Admiral Zen leans more towards Garrow's side of things, but she has her own reasons for wanting the war. She wants to regain control of the Geth. She is a bit unstable, but she has a great scientific mind. If you want Ron's opinion, she's kind of in the middle. She leads the patrol fleets, so if there's anything going down, she would probably be one of the first to know. You can also talk to Vitor and Cal Rieger, who will throw their support behind Tali, but now it's time for the hour ride, and it's swarming with Geth. It's really the hunters that are going to give you the most problems. As you progress through the level, you can listen to recordings on what went down here, and it's not good. The researchers here were performing tests on Geth systems, but they were also activating Geth deliberately, which led to the current situation. But after a while, you'll find Rael Zora, and he didn't make it. Damn, Tali. But he did leave a message for Tally before the Geth got to him. He knew that she would come for him. He says that we have to destroy the main hub upstairs to stop the Geth from creating more of themselves. And of course, we have to fight a Prime, but I came prepared. This is one of the times where fighting at close quarters works to your advantage. After you take out the Geth, you can shut down the hub and listen to the last of the Our team's recordings. And it's just as bad as everyone thought. Rael and the researchers here were activating Geth and linking them to the neural network to perform systemic tests on them. He even told one of them to bypass security protocols. As Tally puts it, this makes Rael one of the worst war criminals in Quarian history. And what makes this worse emotionally for Tally is that part of the reason he was doing it is so that she could see the homeworld again someday. This whole ordeal has been an emotional roller coaster for our girl, but now we have to get back for the trial, and we have to decide whether to use this evidence to exonerate Tally or find another way to get the job done. She doesn't want to use this evidence as it'll ruin her father's reputation, so I'll respect her wishes and instead call out the admirals on their true contention point, going to war with the Geth. Shepard will lay into them by hyping up Tally's accomplishments, and this is enough to get Tally a non-guilty verdict. Afterwards, Shepard can give their opinion on whether they support the Quarians going to war or not. I'm on Chorus's side here, but that's because we need them for when the Reapers show up. After this, you can say your goodbyes to the admirals or just leave outright, but that ends the mission. This was an emotional roller coaster for our girl. I know she's happy to leave. Our last loyalty mission for now is with Zaid, and with Zaid being a Merc veteran, his weapons hold as many stories as the man himself. He's seen it all and been through it all. His mission is about hunting down a man named Vito Santiago. This takes us to the home of the Blue Suns, Zoria. This mission is a bit of a two-parter, as while Zaid is consumed with catching Vito, we also need to liberate the oil refinery from the Blue Suns. I do like to warm up to the action, as you can hear the Blue Suns on the radio trying to prepare to intercept us. Not that it'll do them any good. When the group gets to the bridge, Zaid will reveal to Shepard that he was a co-founder of the Blue Suns alongside Vito. However, Vito ended up betraying Zaid by turning his men against him, and then shooting Zaid in the head. Somehow Zaid survived, and has been determined to kill Vito ever since. This ain't no simple grudge for Zaid. This is much deeper than that for him. It's apparent when we finally come face to face with Vito. There is no love lost between these two for sure, and their conversation leads to this.
What was that? Gone nearsighted, old friend.
Burn, you son of a bitch.
You just signed your death warrant, Masani.
What the hell are you doing?
Opening the gate.
This menace has ignited the whole refinery. He did it to get us into place, but still, he's out of control. Now we have to make a choice. Free the workers, or go after Vito immediately. I go after the workers, partly out of spite because no one told you to do this. This part isn't really difficult, you just need to get to the fire suppression systems so that the workers can escape. There are some Blue Suns in here, but not too many. After dealing with the fire, now it's time to chase Vito. This battle is kind of fun. You have to fight the suns that spawn in, but you have these canisters that you can shoot and drop on them. Yeah, there is a heavy mech, but you have a good amount of time to destroy it because it starts on the other side of the room. You can track it easily. Now, if you went after Vito immediately, which is the renegade option, Zaid has his opportunity to kill him, pretty gruesomely. However, if you went the Paragon route and went after the workers first, Vito gets away and Zaid is not happy. But in what seems like karma, this piece of metal lands on him, and this is where Shepard can confront him about letting his grudge get the better of him. Zaid will relent, and he'll say that he can hunt down Vito after the collective business is done. Whew, that does it for the loyalty missions, for now. Let's change gears and talk about side missions or assignments. I'm just going to go with side missions. Like in Mass Effect 1, each hub world has side missions, and then there are the side missions for the frontier planets. The best hub world side missions are the ones where your squad mates can chime in on what's going on. Here are some examples. In its first one, you're helping to resolve a dispute between the Quarian Leah Vielle and the Volus Cortoon. Cortoon is accusing Leah of stealing his credit chick. and if you bring Tally, she will have some words for the Volus. This is one of my favorite missions, as you can tell off both cartoon and is obviously by a CSEC officer, and you just feel satisfied afterwards. Another is if you bring Jacob and Miranda to talk to the Solarian information broker named Ish on Omega. Jacob doesn't like the guy due to Ish leading him into an ambush on a past job, but you can help him recover some info packages which are revealed to be on Arya's gang. Apparently, one of her top men, Ante, has been taking some side work, and there are a few ways you can handle this. You can just give the information to Ish, or you can convince Ish to get the hell off of Omega before anyone finds out. Or you can tell Ante and let him whack Ish. It doesn't have to be said to know that's what happens. I'm gonna rattle off a few more. You can help these rude Asari get off world. Apparently they've been grounded as they're coming up in CSEC systems as Geth. You can give them those fake IDs that you collected during Garrus's loyalty mission. Or you can convince the CSEC officer that they're not Geth and allow them to leave off world. On to Chunka, there's this Pyjack shooting minigame where if you complete it, Ratch the merchant will give you a discount at his shop. There's also Comrade Werner on Ilium. He's in here moonlighting as a Spectre, when in reality he was tricked by a merchant who wants to borrow for herself. You can help straighten things out before Theta kills him. And then there's Gianna Paracini. You can help her nab a smuggler who is trying to sell a secret schematic on the planet. One of the coolest things about the Mass Effect series is that some NPCs from previous games can make a return in other games. So in this one, you can meet characters like Gianna, Xiao from Zoo's Hope, Conrad, and there's a few others. The Frontier Planet side missions in Mass Effect 2 are handled a bit differently than in Mass Effect 1. Whereas Mass Effect 1's worlds were explorative, you could drive around the worlds, collect MacGuffins, all while having the option of driving to the location of the mission. But in Mass Effect 2, the side missions were made to be more linear. No exploration, just start to finish. In light of that, what Mass Effect 2 does try is to give you unique missions to compensate for the lack of exploration. From stopping Merc operations, Cerberus-related quests, fighting a horde of zombies on Akitas, there's a lot of variety to the story missions in this game. You'll access most of these missions by scanning and probing planets that have radio transmissions coming from them. The Infected Met storyline has always stuck with me, as it contains one of the creepiest missions in Mass Effect history, Jarahi Station. What makes this mission so creepy is the atmosphere. There are no enemies, it's just you and an infected VI that wants to kill you. You see the carnage immediately. Everyone's dead in here, and once you walk through that front door, you're trapped until you disable the VI. One of Bioware's best qualities is that they know how to do horror pretty well. Here, they killed it with the atmosphere core. Some other missions that I like to do are on Daratar, Tarif, and Gai Hanam. In certain missions, you can pick up items that act as secondary objectives. These can be given to NPCs in the hub world where you may receive awards for them. After giving the Merc datapad to Arya, and if you do the Patriarch side quest where you help her protect her old rival / trophy from the Blood Pack, she will let you know of an Eclipse smuggling depot on Daratar. Once you sit down on the planet, some heavy mechs will try and destroy all the cargo in the area. So your goal is to get rid of the mechs as fast as possible. The more cargo you save, the more money you'll get at the end of the mission. The best way to do this is to bring the nuke launcher, but make sure your targets aren't too close to you or you blow them and yourself up and that's game over. Tarif is another mission that I like because of the planet itself. I like these Earth-like planets that have a major imperfection. In this case, Tarif has an excessive amount of chlorine in its atmosphere, which gives the planet this green haze. This is a quick nitpick, but why are some characters on a planet like this with no armor? It's very apparent in characters like Jack, because in real life, this chlorine would be tearing her skin up. But anyway, your job here is to make your way through the chlorine fog to take down a Blood Pack communications relay. This is a part of a plotline concerning the Blood Pack. I'm telling y'all, Shepard did a lot of damage to the big 3 Merc groups, to the point that they never truly recovered by the end of the trilogy. To help progress through the fog, there are beacons that will light the way to the relay. However, you have to deal with the Harvesters in Kiltsin. The Harvesters will use the fog to hide their drop points of the Kiltsin, but it's not a problem as you can hear when a Harvester is nearby. But after getting through the fog, you reach the relay where you have to face off with Salamul and his men. This is just an overall cool mission. This is the last mission I'm going to show off, and the devs messed up on this planet. Gai Hanam is supposed to be an atmosphereless planet. So what the hell is this? There's plant life, and Varen who are the main obstacle for this mission. But the goal here is to save the Korian, Lieutenant Forzan, from the Varen. The Varen come fast, and they come hard. But all you have to do is hold out until the shuttle arrives. But yeah, there are a lot of missions scattered throughout the clusters, and a lot of them are interesting and fun to play. It's just going to matter how you feel about searching the map for them. All we have left are the DLCs and the endgame. Yeah, I know I'm missing a squad mate. He's going to be part of the endgame. Mass Effect 2 went all out with the DLCs. The amount of DLC missions triples that of Mass Effect 1. Back in the day, you would have to pay for the DLCs like the Way of the Shadow Broker and Kasumi, and you would have to download Zaid and the other minor DLC missions through the Cerberus network. This was a paid feature that allowed you to download free DLC content, and you could receive Mass Effect updates and news through it. The service is no longer available, however, all of the DLC content is available through the Legendary Edition. Even the Blood Dragon armor, which you could originally get by redeeming the promo code included with Dragon Age Origins on the Bioware website. This was a pretty cool feature, and I'm not sure whether this is dated by today's standards, but I think Bioware should play with this type of thing again in the future Mass Effect game. Except for the character DLCs, these missions are typically available after Horizon and remain available after the main story, so you have a wide berth to complete them. We're mainly going to be talking about the DLC missions, so let's start off with the Normandy crash site. You will receive an email from Admiral Hackett wanting Shepard to explore the SR-1's crash site and recover the remains of the missing crew members, and place a monument on the site in honor of the old ship. Since Shepard was the last commanding officer of the ship, they get to be the first ones to walk through the site. There's not too much to the site as a whole. There are select areas that you can place the monument, and there are dog tags that you need to collect. But what this is really about is saying goodbye to the ship and old friends. As you explore areas of the site, you'll see flashbacks of the people or areas of the ship in their original condition. You can also find Presley's data pad, and while some of the data is corrupted, you can see how his stance on aliens changed over time. Rest in peace, sir. But yeah, this was a final send-off to the Normandy SR-1 in the first game overall, and it serves its purpose. You can also recover your old helmet as well as a memento, so that's nice. I wonder what Shepard was thinking throughout all of this, as this was also their death site as well. The next DLC is the Firewalker DLC, which consists of a series of missions centered around finding the crew of the MSV Rosalie and Drs. Manuel Casey and Robert O'Loy. The first place we need to go is to planet Zeona, where we'll find the wreckage of the Rosalie and the project that they were working on. And it's here that we're introduced to the second vehicle in the Mass Effect trilogy, the Hammerhead. This mission is mainly about teaching you how to control the Hammerhead. You'll have to reach all of the checkpoints on the map. It should be noted that for 90% of the DLC, you're confined to the Hammerhead. You're only on foot for short periods of time, but after you finish the level, Shepard flies the Hammerhead into the Normandy. It's ours now. After this, you'll have to go to different planets, and these worlds really serve as a way to teach you how to drive and fight in the Hammerhead. The Hammerhead is fast and agile, with the ability to hover to get to higher places. The Hammerhead also has a guided missile system that locks onto enemies, allowing you to shoot from all types of angles. However, one of the biggest drawbacks with this thing is that it's a complete glass cannon, and when you're going up against Geth Colossuses, yeah, things could get complicated. When the Hammerhead starts blaring, that's the time to remove yourself before it blows up. You have to be a bit strategic while fighting in it. Completing the other worlds eventually takes you to the planet Copus. This world is beautiful, by the way, but this mission is basically an accumulation of everything you've learned so far. The Prothean site is blocked by a powerful energy barrier, so you have to destroy the generators around the map to bring it down, but it's not the easiest thing to do. There's an absurd amount of rocket drones here. They pop out of the ground, which gives them a jump scare element, and the next thing you know, you're putting the Hammerhead in reverse to get away. But after you bring down the barrier, you can enter the Prothean site and learn of the fates of Drs. Casey and Aloy through the logs in the area. Dr. Casey assumed that Aloy was indoctrinated and whacked him. He was selling out the survey team to the Geth, most likely the heretics. Believing that the Reapers had indoctrinated him as well, he killed himself. If you're paying attention here, you can piece together that Dr. Casey is Manuel from Mass Effect 1. His knowledge of the attack of Eden Prime gives it away. Dang, rest in peace, Manuel. It's assumed that all of the survey team has died as well, but all that's left is to collect the artifact and bounce. The artifact will appear in your cabin in its smaller size. The Firewalker DLC is meh overall. It's more of a distraction to me, and to keep it real, I feel like its purpose is more to prepare you for another DLC that we're going to be talking about in a bit. Next, it's officially time to talk about the Arrival DLC, and Shepard will get on VidCon with Admiral Hackett, and Hackett needs a big favor from Shepard. He needs him to infiltrate a Batarian prison and rescue an Alliance agent, Dr. Amanda Kenson. The Batarians have arrested her on terrorism charges, and Hackett won't let her rot in a Batarian prison. More importantly, she and her team have found a Reaper artifact that contains proof of an incoming Reaper invasion. Do you know how nice it is when Shepard's claims are vindicated? But anyway, Hackett needs us to rescue her, but to go in alone, as a full assault could lead to them killing Kenson. So going alone or not at all. This DLC takes us to the Batarian planet of Aratot. This DLC is unique in that it's one of the rare times in the series where Shepard is going at it alone, but your first goal is to sneak in through the sewers to reach the main camp. This part is mainly a puzzle, just watch out for the War Beast or Varen and you should be fine. To get into the prison, you can do this one of two ways. You can sneak in or go guns blazing. I prefer to sneak in here. Why not avoid unnecessary fights, you know what I'm saying? There was an achievement in the original game for going in quiet, but in the Legendary Edition, they cut that out. So it doesn't really matter how you handle it. This is the first Batarian world that you get to go to, the only one actually. I did feel like the Batarians needed some more shine, especially since we're doing more with the non-council races in this game. But after freeing Kenson from this contraption, and when her Stomp This Batarian is payback, it's time to go. But the base is now on high alert. So now we have the Batarian prison guards to fight, and it's mainly like fighting the mercs, except they throw flashbangs, so be mindful of that. We need a way out of this cell block, so while Kenson hacks us a way out, you'll have to protect her. So it's enemy wave time, and this was a bit difficult for me, and it was mainly because the Batarians were using rush tactics on you. The SMG wasn't the move, as they were on top of me before I knew it, and I died here. But that's also when I remembered I have the tactical cloak, and it made this part a bit easier. But after surviving that, we were able to escape the cell block and get to the hangar. From here it's just clearing out the enemies, and blowing the locks to the shuttle door to escape. Kenson is engineer class, so you can use her to your advantage. After escaping the prison, on the shuttle, Shepard and Kenson will finally have time to talk. And Kenson reveals that the allegations are true. Kenson and her team found proof that the Reapers are going to be arriving through the Baja System's mass relay, and were preparing to destroy it by launching an asteroid into the relay. However, Kenson got arrested on a run back from Omega. The Batarians thought that the equipment she was carrying was suspicious, and in hindsight, they were right. Shepard can ask how does a Reaper artifact give her proof of an invasion, and she says that it shows her vision similar to a Prothean beacon. Yeah, I don't like that, Kenson. But the main thing here is that if we're blowing a relay, we need the proof. We get to the station, and they have a timer that acts as a countdown to the Reaper's arrival, which is in just 2 days. And oh boy, we get to see the artifact named Object Row, and it's just out in the open. Next thing you know, a post goes off knocking Shepard down. And of course, everyone here is indoctrinated. Shepard manages to disarm Kenson and she'll run off, and now you have to fight the rest of her team, and this fight can either end quickly, or you can survive until Object Row knocks you out. It does get challenging when the mechs start coming in, but either way you can't die here. Shepard wakes up in their medical bay, and one of the scientists will lock you in this room, so you'll have to escape by hacking a Loki mech. So that's what they see. But anyway, you have to destroy the power junction to escape the room. When you go to grab your gear, you'll see that there are only 2 hours left. We've been out for 2 days. And from here, it's fighting off Kenson's team, and they'll be throwing everything at you to stop you. These jokers aren't messing around. As you progress through the mission, you can hear a log of Kenson, and you can tell she was becoming indoctrinated. And it was just like, geez, how long have you been indoctrinated at this point? But you're going to have to fight your way to the engine controls. When you activate the project, you'll be informed that activating it will lead to over 305,000 casualties. You have a choice to warn the colonists or call the Normandy for pickup, but either choice gets interrupted by Kenson. She is not happy that the engines have been started, and is now looking to destroy the asteroid by causing a reactor meltdown. So now we have to stop this crazy bat from killing us all. Not that the others probably mind too much, they're indoctrinated too. When we enter the reactor area, a cutscene will play out, and Shepard can try to convince her to escape the rock with them, but she's not having it. So now you'll have to insert the cooling rods into the reactor core to stop the meltdown. But Kenson's goons aren't going to make this easy. The fights aren't particularly difficult, it's just fighting the pyros. I hate fighting them in crowded spaces, they're annoying. But once you insert both cooling rods, the reactor core will stabilize. You can confront Kenson, who is tore up that she can't hear the Reaper's whispers anymore. The Reapers have pulled out at this point, and she pulls out a detonator. Shepard can try to get her to leave with them again, but Kenson declines. And you can either shoot her and the detonator goes off anyway, or let her press the button, but either way, she blows herself up and knocks Shepard out again. Shepard wakes up, but now there's less than 30 minutes left until the impact. so Shepard needs to escape the asteroid and fast. But Kenson's men saved the best for last. There's a heavy mech out here. Of course there would be. The arc projector came in the clutch here. The best thing about it is that it hurts nearby enemies as well as your main target, making it perfect for crowd control. But after dealing with the enemies here, you'll reach the comm relay, but as Shepard is calling for the Normandy, the Collector General appears, basically threatening Shepard and telling him that the Reapers are coming whether they're ready or not. Normandy shows up right after that, and now it's time to leave, and you get a front row seat to the eradication of a whole system. Over 300,000 Batarians are gone. Just like that. Back on the Normandy, Admiral Hackett shows up as Shepard is being checked out, and he wants to hear from Shepard exactly what went on down there, since a whole relay is gone. Shepard then verifies Kenson's discovery. The Reapers were coming, to which Hackett accepts, and he is on Shepard's side here. However, this isn't just something that can go away. The Batarians are going to want answers, and there is fear that this could cause a war with the Batarians. Basically, Shepard is in serious trouble, but we're honorable. We'll stand trial after we deal with the Collectors. I always liked how Hackett was on our side when it came to the Reapers. They're one of the few powerful allies that Shepard has outside the crew at this point in the series, but even he can't save them from this kind of blowback. But after dealing with that catastrophe, it's time to get into some insanity. It's time for Project Overlord, and this takes us to planet Ate in the Phoenix Massing Cluster. I do like this planet is Earth-like and also has rings around it, although in this case, it's going to mean doom for the planet in about 200 years. But anyway, we're here because the server cell on this planet went off the grid with no explanation. The work they were doing here was top secret, so the elusive man needs us to find out what's going on. As soon as you land on the planet, you'll get a radio transmission from a Dr. Gavin Archer, who informs you that the situation here is urgent, as the base is experiencing a VI breakout, and that we need to destroy the transmission dish at this station. A rogue VI program has taken control of the station and has annihilated most of the staff here. Destroying this dish keeps the VI from uploading its program off-world. Your enemies for the DLC are not only the VI, but the Geth. You can only imagine why they're here, but what's different about these Geth is that they're being controlled by the VI, so it gives them a green glow, which is kind of cool. As you walk in the halls, you can see the carnage, and it's like, dang, the VI and the Geth spared no one. The mission starts out kind of slow, but things get a bit more hectic by the time you get to the transmission dish. Not only are you fighting about every Geth type imaginable below the dish, but it's not any better up top either. The good thing about being up here versus below is that you can put more distance between yourself and the Geth heavies. Your goal up here is to destroy the struts holding up the dish. Destroying those will bring the whole thing down. After dealing with the transmitter, you'll get to talk to Dr. Archer in person, and he explains how things got to this point. Basically, the researchers were trying to control the Geth by interfacing a human mind with a VI, using his autistic brother David as a human link. David is a savant when it comes to mathematics, which allowed him to break down the Geth's language and speak to them. If the project was successful, it would be a useful weapon against not only the Geth, but during war in general. But unfortunately, David couldn't handle the connection, so now his mind is like a virus infecting all of the networks and technology on the station. This could be very problematic if the VI somehow made it off-world, so now we have to put a stop to things. VI David is holed up in the main laboratory, Atlas Station, and has locked the place down, so to get to him, we'll need to manually override security from Prometheus and Vulcan stations. To get to the other stations, you have been given the Hammerhead, and if you take a minute to examine the world, it is beautiful here. Our first area is Vulcan Station, which is the geothermal station, so the power generator for the entire complex. The whole geothermal part plays into the level, and you'll have to use thermal vents to reach higher places, skipping across lava flows, dealing with any mechs and Cerberus turrets that get in your way. And you're doing this all while the VI is watching you. Eventually you'll reach the station itself, and this part can be fun. You're dealing with mechs and drones, but you can blow most of them away by destroying the explosive containers, but this is the easy part. It turns into a what the hell situation when you get into this room, and there's a heavy mech at the end of the room. I hate when these things are placed in rooms like this, but again, I came prepared. Art Projector is Sniper for the win, but this also leads into one of the funniest scenes in the game, as this hat mech is trying to destroy this console, but can't, and as soon as it sees you, your squad mates will just shoot its arms off and it just runs around the room. But Shepard triggers the override, which the VI isn't too happy about, and now it's time to leave, but not before destroying the mech. I should mention that there is a side mission where you can collect the Cerberus data packets in the hub area before going to Atlas Station. Doing so used to give you an achievement, but that's been removed in the Legendary Edition. That's one thing I could say that's a negative for the Legendary Edition. It took away the point of doing some of the collectible side quests. But up next is Prometheus Station, and getting into this station is interesting. You need to take out the shield generators, but there's a problem. They're protected by shields. The other problem, the VI will take control of the Geth cannon, and this thing is an insta-kill if it hits you. The way I like to do this is to get the VI to target the shields by luring it to a generator, and then zip out of the way a good distance to lure the cannon away, and then repeat the process. After taking out the generators, then you can take out the main cannon and enter the base. As soon as you walk in, you are greeted with a Geth Prime. You know we're going to have to fight that before we get out of here, right? But there are no fights at the beginning of this part. However, you can hear the logs of the crew here, and what log details the moments before disaster. The creepiest thing is how the VI follows you from station to station, but we get to the platform here, where you'll have to arrange the floor to allow you to cross and get to the override. However, once you trigger the override, the VI pounces and triggers all of the Geths still in the building, so now you have to fight. This has got me thinking about something. I get wanting to learn more about the Geth, but when are these people going to learn to stop messing with them? It's almost never worth it. Every time someone tries to study them or perform tests on them, they end up getting murdered. But this part isn't too bad. Just watch the hunters, and I didn't even mind the Prime, mainly because you got the high ground here. But after dealing with the Geth, you can now go to Atlas Station. And things get trippy here. For one, David VI, will start dictating what door you can go into. And the doors do some weird things, like this one alternated colors furiously before stopping on this door here. This room has an elevator on the far end of it, and you have to get the elevator to reach level 7. It's a mini puzzle, but as soon as you figure it out, step away from the door, because a Prime and some troopers will come out. But I just sniped the Prime to get it out the way and clean up the troopers. Once in the elevator, the VI hacks it, and you'll be stopped on this floor with some testing Geth. Don't worry about them though, they're harmless. But eventually you're herded to this room here. When Shepard interfaces with the console, the VI does something to Shepard, and they're in this weird space between the physical world and the digital world. Your squad mates are locked in the room, so Shepard's left on her own for the rest of the mission. You have been hearing the VI mutter something throughout the mission, but may have been unable to figure it out. David saying stop is the most coherent thing heard at this point. Also, because we're still technically in the physical world, we still have Geth to fight, but the digital side lets us see David and Gavin, basically the events that led up to now. This part here sticks out, as this is when the talk of David's particular abilities and the idea of him being connected to the Geth neural network started. After fighting through the Geth, you'll make it to the VI core, and you'll also see and hear more David and Gavin's conversations. But as far as the VI core, you'll have to keep the VI from uploading itself by shooting the VI connections until they revert back towards the core itself. After defeating the VI, we get to see the true horror of the project. Look at David, y'all. Look at him. Shepard's face says it all. Gavin runs in and tries to explain himself, which comes off to me as that he was so afraid of failing the elusive man that he forced his brother to be a part of this experiment. David was saying please make it stop during the entire mission. He was crying out for help the entire time. Gavin lied. David didn't want to be a part of this project, not to this extent. He was forced into it. In Gavin's mind, if his work here saved millions of lives, he'll be okay with what he did to David. He downplays the possible damage done to David's mind. He says that even though Cerberus will use him, he'll still be cared for. But after getting him to see how selfish he's being, he starts to see how far off the deep end he went. He'll ask to take care of David, and here you get two choices. You can leave him with Gavin, or take him with you. I'm taking him, because what's really stopping you from doing this again? Plus, Shepard will take him to Grissom Academy to be with other gifted kids like himself. You know it's bad when even Renegade Shepard punches him.
912.04 is 30.2. It all seemed harmless. Square root of 912.04 is 30.2. It all seemed harmless. Square root of 912.04 is 30.2. It all seemed harmless.
But after that heavy business, it's time to revisit Liara and start our final DLC, The Lair of the Shadow Broker. And this is the longest DLC by far. After Horizon, You would have received this message from Cerberus that states that Liara has been hunting the Shadow Broker for a few years now, and they wouldn't mind helping her out. They have found some information that may give her some leads on the Shadow Broker's location, and they want us to pass it on. So you head back to her office on Ilium and select the bottom left option, and Shepard will say that they got some information on the Shadow Broker and if Liara is interested in it. And this starts the DLC. The datapad has a leaked transmission between the Shadow Broker's operatives and a Drell named Farron. He's a friend of Liara's that helped keep Shepard's body away from the Collectors. Apparently the Shadow Broker was going to sell Shepard to the Collectors, which would also mean the Reapers. This story plays out in the Redemption comic series. Miranda was a part of that too. That's how Shepard ended up with Cerberus. But just know that they were running around Omega to recover Shepard's body. Farron gave himself up to make sure that Liara could escape. He's been a prisoner on the Shadow Broker's ship ever since. This is why Liara's been on a warpath. She not only wants to save him, but to also take the Broker down. However, just like Farron, she's made herself an enemy of the Shadow Broker, and things are about to get sick. But for now, she needs time to plan out her next move. Shepard will ask to help, and they agree to meet at her apartment later on. However, when Shepard gets to her apartment, they stumble into a crime scene. We meet a Spectre named Tella Vasir. She's the second Spectre that we see in the series after Saren, but she was here analyzing the crime scene. Someone tried to assassinate our girl, but she had some kinetic barriers set up outside the apartment that stopped the bullet. I guess she figured that someone was going to try to come for her at some point. She was lucky because whoever shot at her was still able to crack the glass even with the barriers up. Shepard will tell Vasir that Liara was following a lead on the Shadow Broker, and Vasir will say that after the shooting, Liara stayed around for a few minutes, so whatever she was doing had to be important. However, she's had no luck in tracking her down. Since Liara was expecting Shepard, she would have left a message for them, and she did leave a message in the picture of the Normandy in her bedroom. This picture is keyed to Shepard's ID, so when they touched it, it showed a picture of some Prothean ruins, which leads us to this Prothean relic. After Shepard touches it, a tray pops out with a backup disc that contains a discussion between Liara and an information broker named Saket, who is located in the Barrier Frontiers office at the Dracon Trade Center. However, not too soon after we get there, the place is blown to hell by the Shadow Broker's army. They really want her dead, so there's no time to waste. The group splits up, with Vasir coming in from the top of the building and Shepard's team coming in from the ground floor. And it's total carnage, bodies everywhere. But soon enough, you'll meet the Shadow Broker's army. And they're similar to the Batarian prison guards in that they love to use flashbangs. But eventually, we reach Saket's office where he gets gunned down, and Vasir kills the merc in the office. But something doesn't feel right about all this. Shepard will check Saket's body, but they'll find nothing. And then Vasir will ask if you found Liara's body, but that's when our girl shows up, pointing her gun at Vasir. Vasir works for the Shadow Broker. She didn't know where Liara went after the assassination attempt, so she used us to find out. When she had Liara's location, she signaled the Shadow Broker's forces to bomb the building to take her out. She then killed Saket and took the data. Exposed. Vasir will create a distraction and escape. Shepard tries to catch her, but they get blasted to the ground. But Liara is on her ass. Now we need to catch up. But we have the Shadow Broker's guards to deal with. And I hate this part of the mission, as there's an enemy wave section that lasts about 7 waves. It will have you thinking, just when is this going to end? But we eventually catch up to Liara and Vasir, who's having a shootout. But Vasir manages to escape in her sky car, so now the gang commandeers one of their own to give chase. But you can only bring one of your squad members. I like bringing Garrus or Talia along for this mission. It just feels right, and this part of the mission was fun. Why didn't we get more missions like this? But the goal is to keep up with Vasir, dodging traffic in the mines that she drops. It will eventually catch up to her and make her crash at Resort Azure, and she'll try to escape through the place. But before we can go after her, we have more mercs to deal with. And I love how this last car just crashes into the resort barrier. According to Liara, Azure is a sorry slang for lady bits. So there's that. This is a freak resort, ain't it? But we can't be worried about that right now. We need to catch up to Vasir, who's leaking pretty bad. But she takes a hostage when she's cornered. There are different options for how you want to handle this, but I love choosing the bluff option because it sets up this awesome table spot where Liara will smack Vasir with it. And now she's pissed. So it's time for the first boss battle. Vasir is a very annoying boss because she spams Biotic Charge and Shockwave. These two abilities together makes this fight a test of patience. It's hard to get a read on her when she's dashing all over the place, and sometimes she'll appear right beside you, throwing you off your game. And if you get hit by Shockwave, it'll knock you out of cover. I already had enough of that with the Scions. I don't need it from her. Not to mention the mercs that will drop in when she decides to leave the battlefield. Once you defeat her and get the data, you can talk to her, and this conversation really demonstrates the gray morality that can come with being a Spectre. And after hearing this conversation, Vizier is sort of a foil to Paragon Shepard, and is in some ways a mirror to Renegade Shepard, in that they both have done horrible things in the name of what they think is right. Remember the Batarian Relay and our partnership with Cerberus? However, she's the living embodiment of the ends justifying the means. Renegade Shepard is a dick, sure, but I don't think they would bomb an entire building to take out one person. However, they are closer to Vizier's philosophy than Paragon Shepard is. It's sort of a shame that we had to kill her. She could have been useful in Mass Effect 3. But after she dies, you get the data back, you have the chance to talk to Liara. You have the chance to get some Paragon points from your conversation with her. If you haven't noticed at this point, she's acting eerily similar to Garrus, but in this case it's a bit worse, because we saw innocent people get caught up in it. She's stuck on getting revenge, and her need to rescue Farron has her making moves that she normally wouldn't do. You can call her out on this, but you can also see where y'all stand if you romanced her. But she's not really thinking about that right now, not until Farron is safe. So with that being said, let's go get the Shadow Broker. This takes us to planet Hagawaz, where we see the Shadow Broker's ship flying in a sea of storm clouds. Hagawaz is tightly locked to its moon, so one side is always hot and the other is always cold. So that creates constant storm systems when the sun rises or sets, making this the perfect hiding spot. The Shadow Broker's ship is designed to survive in these conditions. But our goal is to get to the entrance hatch on the other side of the ship. However, the Shadow Broker's men aren't going to make this easy, but luckily, you have help. To combat the storms, lightning rods and capacitors have been installed on the ship's hull, and you can blast the capacitors to zap the mercs. However, be careful as the electricity can hit you as well. When you reach the entrance, Liara will put out a shunt program to hack the door. However, this will take some time, so that means more mercs. But at least this time you have banter going on that makes it more fun.
I'm sure it won't be much longer.
Remember the old days when you could just slap Omnigel on everything?
That security upgrade made a lot of people unhappy.
Eventually the program finishes and you can enter the base. The interior of the base does provide a change of pace, as instead of fighting in open areas, you're fighting in tight corridors. This will lead to enemies being in some weird spots, so make sure you're clearing everyone out before progressing. Once you're done with them, you can meet Farron, and yeah, he's been going through it. When Liara attempts to release him, it results in him receiving a painful shock. Farron is hooked up to a neural grounding rod, and the power feeding it is plugged into the Shadow Broker's info network. He explains that if he's pulled out now, he'll die. So the only way to free him is to defeat the Shadow Broker, and the reveal of the Shadow Broker is one of the best reveals in the entire series. The key thing to note here is that the Shadow Broker isn't phased at all when he has guns pointed at him. He's still making threats towards Shepard, and will bring up capturing or killing whoever you brought with you. He's very nonchalant and arrogant. That is until Liara exposed his race and disrespected him a bit. The Shadow Broker, or his given name Keshlu, is from a race known as the Yogg. I made a video on the history of the Yogg. Y'all should check that out after this video. But Liara's clapback causes the Broker to crash out. He just throws his desk at your non-Liara squad mate. So now it's just you two against the Broker. And he's using my favorite assault rifle on me, y'all. And he will get the spraying. But the goal here is to get his shields and armor down. This triggers a cutscene where he'll break up a kinetic barrier that's impervious to projectiles. So that means you're gonna have to throw hands to hurt him. After you hit him, he'll bring up a shield. So no, that's another obstacle to deal with. And I felt like I had to handle this fight a bit differently. He was harder to hit this time around. But the trick as an infiltrator is that since the Shadow Broker prioritizes you more than Liara, cloak up and he'll turn his attention towards Liara, giving you time to get his blind spots and shoot him. From there, it's just a lot of misdirection until you get his shields and armor down, and he'll bring the barrier back up. You'll have to hit him again. We got bench pressed this time around, but Liara has a plan. We need to get him to bring the barrier up again. However, this time, she'll destroy the barrier generator and all of that energy will flow into the Shadow Broker, completely vaporizing him. After you defeat him, the other operatives will chime in requesting updates, to which Liara placates them and then decides to become the new Shadow Broker, as his network can be very valuable. With her mission finally over, she starts to break down. 2 years of mourning, searching, it's all over. After she collects herself, she'll say that she can use the Broker's resources to help Shepard in her war against the Reapers. She doesn't come with you. This is a DLC mission after all. So you'll say your goodbyes, which ends the DLC. However, after the briefing screen, you can go right back into the Shadow Broker's office and check out the room. You can read dossiers on your friends and associates. They contain their extranet activity, purchases, search history, things like that. You can get weapon shipments, investment opportunities, the locations of mineral-rich planets. There's a lot of things that you can use. You can talk to Farron, who's recuperating in the back room. I'm glad he's doing okay, but before you go, talk to Yara, and you can ask how she's doing, and y'all will talk about the Shadow Broker's resources. The Shadow Broker knew about the Reapers. Remember, he did help us out in Mass Effect 1 by helping to expose Saren. It's believed that he knew what was going to go down, and he was looking for a way to survive. I don't blame him, but I can't support your other actions, sir. At the end of the conversation, you can invite Liara back to the Normandy. She'll catch up with the Oak crew and give you back your dog tags. Liara is a ride or die, and I love that about her. You will get some unique dialogue from her if you completed the DLC after defeating the Collectors. This also gives you a chance to rekindle their relationship if you romanced her in the last game. If you do, they'll catch up in other ways. And Liara will leave afterwards, thanking Shepard for everything. But in reality, Shepard should be thanking her for giving them another chance at life. But that's it for the DLCs. This one stuck with me because after playing Mass Effect 3 first, it got me thinking, what if this was the end of Liara's run as a major character and she became more of a supporting character in Mass Effect 3? I wonder how that would have been perceived. You could say that this would have been a good send-off for her, but nah, Liara was too popular and important of a character for that to ever happen. But let's get back to the main storyline. Well guys, we're nearing the end of the game, but before the true endgame can start, we gotta go and get that IFF. And for that, we have to go to a derelict Reaper. Magnificent, isn't it? Our secondary goal is to find out why Dr. Shadana's team stopped reporting in. But after listening to these terminals, it became clear what went down. The Reapers were messing with their minds and they were becoming indoctrinated. For this map, it's mainly Reapers, and this may be your first time fighting them in a while. But they will climb up the sides of the walkways and try to overwhelm you, but it's nothing you're not used to at this point. Once you make your way down the hallway, you'll see some shooting going on and some Husks being killed. It looks like we have a friend here, but there's no time to think about that. It's Reaper time, and we have a Scion to deal with. But yeah, I didn't do too well here. I was getting jumped by the Husks to the point that I had to do a tactical retreat to deal with the situation, and I was surprised I didn't die here. After getting out of that situation, you'll come to the Dragon's Teeth at the end of the room, and yeah, the science team definitely got indoctrinated. If you played Mass Effect 1, this won't surprise you, but we can't help them now, so we have to press on. It's time to go into the Reaper itself. And we're in someone's sniper scope, but it turns out that our mystery sniper is a Geth, and it talks, almost like it knows us. This Geth stands out immediately, not only for the fact that it can speak, but for the fact that it's out here alone. But as far as the mission, take out the Reapers, watch out for the Scions, there are more than usual here. After dealing with the Reapers and grabbing the IFF in the area, you can go into the drive core room. You'll see the Geth at the terminal to the core, but it gets knocked out by the Husk. So now you'll have to fight them and destroy the core to get rid of the Reaper. We'll save the Geth because we definitely have some questions for it. But back in the conference room, we're debating on what to do with it. But EDI will also let us know that the IFF can be installed on Normandy systems, but there are risks that come with it being Reaper tech. Oh yeah, there's definitely gonna be some problems, alright. But as far as the Geth is concerned, come on, you know I'm about to activate it. And once it's up, we get to learn a lot about our new friend here. For starters, it knows of us through the galaxy's wide data sources. This Geth is able to speak because it has over 1100 Geth programs within it. Most Geth only have about 100, so we got a very high spec Geth in front of us here. He also has these head flaps that can be used for inflections, but the reason they were on the derelict Reaper was to study the Reaper's technology, to not only protect his people against the Reapers, but the heretics, the Geth that served the Reapers. There was a Geth civil war going on the entire time, but this is the first time you're actually made aware of it. Seeing as we have fought both sides, they want to work with us. So now we have one of our most unique squad mates ever. Our Geth friend needs a name, to which EDI will chime in with Legion, to which it agrees with. So with that, we have officially completed our team. And at this point in the game, you can trigger Legion's loyalty mission by leaving the room and going to talk to somebody else and then coming back. Legion has learned from examining the Reaper's data core that the heretics have developed a virus that can rewrite Legion and the other Geth to worship the Reapers like the heretics. We definitely can't let that happen, so we're off to the heretic station in Geth space to deal with them. We're inside a Geth ship, y'all, and I've always liked how the interior of this ship looked. To cover our tracks, The Legion has introduced some junk data into the Geth systems. To get rid of this junk data, the Geth are plugged into the internal network using these terminals here. This will allow you to get the jump on them whenever you enter an area like this. Also, avoid the green data streams. If you touch them, it will alert the Geth prematurely. Legion will also inform Shepard that there's an option to use the virus to rewrite the heretics to follow the normal Geth instead of the Reapers, instead of destroying the virus outright. And Legion trying to decide on what to do is important to the plot of this mission. A House Divided was the perfect name for it, by the way. This is one of my favorite Geth missions in general, as we learn a lot about the Geth. In Mass Effect 1, they were mainly Saren soldiers, but we get their backstory in this game and they've got a lot going on. To help you fend off the heretics, there are terminals that Legion can hack to fire on them, and these will come into clutch later. In this scene, you can take a look at what a Geth memory database looks like, and Legion is taken aback when he discovers that the heretics were spying on his faction, as skepticism isn't really something they're known for. I always took this as an early sign that the Geth were evolving, as they're starting to display some more individualism. The current schism is a symptom of that, but after this scene, we'll walk into this room where we'll find this terminal, where Legion will upload their version of the virus. You'll have to hold out until his upload is complete. The floor is set up like a maze, and the heretics will come through in waves. So to deal with them, you can have Legion activate some of the Geth turrets for some extra firepower. Be vigilant, because it's easy for the Geth hunters to creep up on you if you're not paying attention to them. But after the upload is done, Legion will say that they're unsure on what to do with the heretics, and they want Shepard to choose their fate. You can either kill them or rewrite them. I chose to rewrite them here, and I can't wait to revisit this in Mass Effect 3. But because the station is about to send out a massive EMP pulse, we have to get the hell on before we get vaporized. And I just love how they placed this prime here in front of the exit. But the group manages to escape the ship. But back on the Normandy, Tali and Legion are going at it. Tali caught Legion scanning her Omni tool to send classified information to the Geth, but only because he found out that the Quarians were performing tests on the Geth, not to mention talking about going to war with them, which is true. So again, you can make them cooperate or take a side and lose their support. I need everyone's support, so come together and squash it. But that officially completes your team and every loyalty mission. This effectively kicks off the endgame. After dealing with the Legion Tali situation, if you try to use the galaxy map, a conversation between EDI, Joker, and Shepard will start concerning the IFF. EDI mentions that while the IFF is powered on, it's causing some issues within some of the Normandy systems, and this should be looked at before they use it. It's recommended that the group take a shuttle for their next mission. As Joker and EDI are scanning the IFF, EDI finds out that the Normandy is transmitting its location, which means...
Shit!
The IFF has also released the virus in the Normandy systems, so it can't jump to FTL either. They can't get away, and the Collectors have boarded the ship. So now the only hope of saving the Normandy is overriding EDI's AI shackles and letting her take control of the ship. So for the only time in the series, you get to control Joker. He's very slow because of his condition, but you have to follow the four lights to reach the AI core, all while hiding from the Collectors. The Collectors are rounding everyone up on the ship, so you can't let them see you or it's game over. To be honest, I don't know how they didn't see him at points, but it's whatever. But Joker will reach the AI core and connect the AI core to the Normandy's control module. Next, Joker has to reactivate the primary drive in engineering, and this part was scary as hell, because the Collectors and Reapers are right there. But after evading them, you'll reach the drive core to reactivate it, and EDI will open the airlocks and accelerate to get rid of the boarding party. At this point, everyone but Joker has been captured, so he tells EDI to send a message to Shepard about what happened. The Collectors won this round. A meeting is held in the CIC, and Miranda is chewing out Joker like he could have done anything to stop this. But at least he and EDI saved the Normandy. The good thing is that the IFF has been scrubbed, so this can't happen again. And EDI is a pretty docile AI, so even though she's bound by her protocols, she still wouldn't turn on the group. But now, it's time to spin back on the Collectors. You can go and talk to Joker in the cockpit, and he's going through it, but he just needed to vent out some frustration. He actually calls her by her name now, or she, so he respects her way more than before. We're going to revisit this in Mass Effect 3. This is the final mission. You need to make sure that the ship is fully upgraded, everyone is loyal, that you and your squad are as upgraded as possible, and that you're ready to go through the Omega 4 relay now. This will help you get the best ending. Any missions you try to do after this will reduce the chances of you rescuing all of your crewmates. Except Chocolates, she survives no matter what. If you've romanced somebody, that tends to play out after this conversation as well. For this playthrough, I romanced Miranda, so she just decided to pop in, and I'm cutting the rest of this, not taking any chances. After that stress relief, you'll talk to the elusive man, but there's not much he can give us here, but good luck, in that he's appreciative of the risk we're taking. But now it's time to go through the Omega-4 relay, and after going through the other side, it's no surprise that no one but the collectors have ever returned from here. If Joker wasn't such a great pilot in our IFF, it would have been over right here. But there it is, the collector base. However, things will get sticky immediately, as the base has these enemy vessels called Oculus that will start attacking the ship. Just a heads up, if you didn't cover your bases, you can lose 2 squad mates right at the beginning of the mission. I never had more than 2 people die, but there is an overall order to when they'll die during the mission. So the more you didn't do for your squad mates, the worse things can go. But one of the Oculus will manage to get into the cargo bay, which triggers the first fight, and it's pretty straightforward. Just watch out for the laser, but this thing can take a lot of punishment, so take it out using heavy weapons. As we're getting closer to the base, our old adversary, the collector ship, reappears. But if you've upgraded Normandy's systems, sweet justice is delivered, and Joker blows this ship away. Unfortunately, the explosion overloads the Normandy systems, and it has to make a crash landing at the collector base. But fortunately for us, the collectors don't know that we made it to their base. The base has no internal security grid. The collectors never thought that someone would ever make it here, and that's about to be their downfall. Now it's time to come up with a plan to destroy the base. The first step is to infiltrate the main control chamber. To do this, the group is going to need to split up into 3 teams. 2 teams to distract the collectors, and 1 team member has to crawl through the ventilation shaft to shut down any security systems. Your choices here are important when choosing these teams throughout the mission, as making the wrong choice can lead to somebody dying. You need a tech expert to go through the vents, and you need an experienced and composed leader to lead the second diversion team. How this mission works is that as your squad mate makes their way through the ventilation shaft, they'll be blocked by vent gates. You'll have to hit the switch to allow them to progress. These vents can get pretty hot, which hurts your squad mate, so you'll need to be pretty quick when it comes to taking out the collectors and reaching the next vent control station. However, Harbinger shows up a lot during this part, slowing you down as he takes control of another collector. There's 8 gates that you'll need to open, but once you've opened the last gate, you'll reach the main chamber door, to which Shepard's group will be let in. In this next area, you'll find stasis pods with the colonists and the Normandy crew inside them. This is where going through the relay comes into play. If you went through immediately, Lilith from Horizon gets liquefied. If you held off and did any missions, it'll be Kelly in the pod. But after seeing this, you need to get everyone out quick. And like before, depending on how quick you left for the base, it'll determine if all of your crewmates survive. Half of them are just Chakwas. Chakwas relate to Shepard that the collectors have been processing humans and feeding the genetic material through the tubes above. And it's concluded that these tubes lead to their objective. However, there's a problem. The next area has so many seeker swarms to the point that Morden's countermeasure won't work. Shepard then has an idea to use a biotic to emit a field that protects the group. Miranda says that any biotic could do this, but that's a lie. You'll want the strongest biotics for this, so that means either a loyal Samara, Jack, or Morov. I like Samara for this one. I mean, Miranda is strong, but just not as strong as these 3. There's also the case of the Normandy crewmates. For this, you'll want to send a weaker squad mate, as they won't be useful during the later parts of the mission. I tend to send Morden back. So for this part, it was annoying, and the difficulty all comes down to the bubble itself. Leaving it will cause the secret swarms to eat away at your shields. You're dealing with collectors, harbingers, and reapers this time around, every type except a Praetorian. So with the husk, you're vulnerable against rush tactics. Harbinger will be on your tail if he's not dealt with. According to the wiki, Kasumi can be helpful here, as her flashbang can stop his attacks as long as it's available. But then you have the Scions, who can get close up on you this time around due to the husk distracting you. I was actually struggling here. Eventually I was able to lock in, but it was rough. Your squad mates are also handicapped here. When in the bubble, they won't take cover on their own, so they'll just be eating shots. You can't order them to move because you know the seeker swarms. They can be slow to shoot at enemies, causing you to have to carry the team. Plus, the one holding up the shield isn't available to attack either. But the good thing is that your squad mates' powers are still available, so it's something. But outside of the mission is pretty straightforward. Move with the biotic, whenever you clear an area, signal them to move, and try not to get overwhelmed. I do like the ending cutscene here where the biotic will do this biotic push and blow back the collectors. Pretty awesome. There's no time to rest though, as we got collectors outside the door, So Shepard needs to pick a team to go with them while the others cover your back. The ideal choice for your team here are your weaker squad mates. But if you have all of your squad mates, you can play around with some middle ground characters, so I choose Miranda and Thane instead. Bringing the weaker squad mates ensures the chance that everyone will survive, especially if you lost a squad mate, but that means you will have to carry the team more, which isn't ideal for you, but at the end of the day, this stuff you'll learn through trial and error. But after wasting these 2 Scions at the end of the Reaper rush, you'll trigger this platform taking you to the main chamber where you'll see a human Reaper. This is what the collectors have been up to, building this abomination. It looks like a human because whatever material is used determines the shape of the Reaper. Oh yeah, this thing has to go. We can start by destroying the injection tubes feeding it. However, the collectors aren't just going to let you destroy it. This fight is similar to the Reaper Core fight from the IFF mission, in that the tubes are available until you destroy one. Then they'll close and enemies will drop in, and after you defeat them, the tubes will reopen. Rinse, wash, repeat until the last tube is destroyed. After that, Shepard will contact the other team, and for my playthrough, Jack was holding it down. And Shepard will prepare to destroy the station, and that's when the elusive man calls you. So, the elusive man wants to preserve the base, as its knowledge could be useful in the upcoming Reaper War, and you have a choice of either destroying the base or preserving it. If you do preserve it, you could trigger a radiation pulse that kills the collectors but keeps the station intact. That's considered the renegade option. Miranda will chime in and say that keeping the base feels like a betrayal due to what's happened here. And that's the thought process I used when I chose to destroy it. Old Elusive will try and convince you or tell Miranda to stop you, but she rebuffs him and resigns from Cerberus altogether, and then we hang up on him. However, we're not done with the Reaper just yet. That was just part 1. We just woke it up, so now we have this monstrosity to fight. And it's not a difficult fight in terms of what you have to do, it just requires patience. The Reaper larva is pretty strong, so you should just try and whittle down its health, but make sure to avoid its attacks. You could get a little ballsy and attack it as it's charging up, but that's at your discretion. At certain points, it will duck under the platform and come up on the other side of it. It will also destroy some platforms as well, so make sure that you're far enough away from it. Of course, some collectors will pop in at times, and what I've never noticed is that the larva's mouth laser will hurt them too if they're in the way of it. That's good to know, but as you get its health down, it will start attacking more often, but just be patient and keep on doing what you're doing and eventually you'll kill it. After destroying the platforms, the crew will fall to the ground below. Joker will radio in and let you know that all of the survivors, in this case everyone, made it. So now Shepard and the rest need to race back to the Normandy, and I'll just let this scene play out.
You've changed nothing. Your species has the attention of those infinitely or greater. That which you know as Reapers are your salvation through destruction.
So, since we destroyed the base, you know the elusive man isn't going to be happy about that. He lets that fact be known. And I don't care. But the mask does start to come off the elusive man here. It's the fact that there's hardly any boundaries that he'll cross for his ambitions. We're going to find that out very well in Mass Effect 3. But Shepard can tell him that from now on, they're handling things their own way, defeating the Reapers without sacrificing the soul of humanity to do it. There isn't much time though. Judgment Day will be here soon enough. But Shepard has one more problem. They're about to get locked up, y'all. Damn. But that's it for Mass Effect 2. After playing Mass Effect 3 a few times, I had to know what went on in the previous games. And that was a choice I was glad I went with. In my opinion, Mass Effect 2 is the most balanced game in the series. It doesn't have too many pitfalls. The thing I dislike the most about it is that the combat is a bit stiff. Out of all the combat systems for the series, I tend to like this game's the least. But it's not a deal breaker. This game did introduce heavy weapons, and they're absolutely fun to use. Playing as an infiltrator for this video presented new challenges for me, but I want to mix things up for my playthrough and the video. I love the darker tone of this game. Since Shepard wasn't in Council space for most of the game due to their Cerberus affiliations, we're mainly dealing with the non-Council races in the Terminus systems, or the seedier individuals of the Council species. As we got to learn more about the Batarians, Geth, Quarians, and even the Krogan in ways that we didn't in Mass Effect 1. This game also introduced the Vorcha and the Drell to the series, and they're welcome additions. They're interesting races. The soundtrack for this game matched the more action-packed vibe the game is going for. For Mass Effect 1, the soundtrack was more ambient in nature, which fit the more explorative vibe of that game. In Mass Effect 2, things are more intense, grand. I'm not the best at breaking down soundtracks, but this is the vibe that I get from the game. I loved all the characters that we picked for this game. It's the biggest roster in the whole series. And I do think that because of that, we didn't get a lot of time with each character, but each one is a welcome addition to the cast. Most of the levels in DLC hit pretty well. There are some side missions that I skip sometimes because there are a lot of them, but Bioware did a decent job at making them at least interesting. It's the same case with the DLCs. Some are meh, but not bad, and others are some of the best in the series. The Lair of the Shadow Broker is goated, and the Normandy Memorial Site was a good way to say goodbye to the Normandy SR-1 and Mass Effect 1 as a whole. As far as the missions are concerned, Mass Effect 2 was the first game in the series to have an epilogue that will let you complete missions after the main story is over. As you can tell by this huge video, there's a lot going on in this game, and this allows you to complete the main story and then go back for any missions that you missed or didn't want to do at the time, which was a good idea. Shepard doesn't have to turn themselves in just yet. Also, since EDI is now unshackled, you can access those blocked Cerberus logs through her if you want to know more about Cerberus. I would say the worst thing that Mass Effect 2 does story-wise is that it did alter the trajectory of the series as we know it. The Dark Energy plotline is the biggest hole in the series, and all we're left from it is more questions than answer. What if Drew Karpyshyn didn't leave after this game? How at Mass Effect 3 it turned out? We'll never know. But Mass Effect 2 is a good game, and it segues perfectly into Mass Effect 3. The Reapers are coming. It's game time. But that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this ride with me. Feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you all for Mass Effect 3. Peace.
DJ Sonic 3.